We are back. It is August 15th, and as promised, the Michigan Football Report will have a original show, some live, maybe weekly live, Jax? Twice weekly live? There's some chatter around the office that we may have the manpower to do 2 live shows a week, maybe more, you never know, throughout this 2023 National Championship run for Jim Harbaugh's Wolverines. The number 2 ranked Wolverines, first time in 32 years, they have started the season ranked in the top 2. Quite a few number 3s in there. Last ranking of number 3 was actually to start the 2005 season. Michigan was ranked number 3, but it's been a while. Plenty of top 5, 6, 7, 8 finishes, but to start off in the top 1, 2, or 3 of the country, you've got to return a bunch of stuff. And then, of course, you've also got to have a great end of your last season. So Michigan going undefeated and only losing by 1 score in the CFP semifinal is what the catalyst was to be the number 2 team in the country in both the AP and the coaches poll. Let's let this audience build up, as we haven't done a show in a little while, so some people might be like, whoa, this has got to be a mistake. The Michigan Football Report is live. Tried to give you guys a little bit of warning. Put it out on Twitter yesterday. Put it out on Facebook, the Instagram account, and, of course, YouTube community tab, as we are letting the audience build up. 35 people watching now. Let's get this bad boy up to 100 before we start rolling. Where are you watching from? Shout out your city. I will give some shout outs. What is this one? Not very cool if you want them to build that wall, James. I don't even know what he's talking about. What wall are we talking about? I think it should be the wall that separates the state of Ohio from the state of Michigan. Build a wall there. Keep those illegal immigrants from Ohio trying to get into the state of Michigan. Keep them out. Keep them out. That's the only wall I am concerned about building as far as it is this 2023 Michigan football season. The blue wall is what we are calling it. We've got Smoking Sundays from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Austin Holland from Battle Creek. Mike Clay is in Grand Blanc, Michigan. Andrew Chaffin, I'm not sure, in Ann Arbor. Stone to FCB, Pittsburgh in the house. Monclova, Ohio from Rob Clark. The Taxman. Oh, man. Taxman. Hey, relax. Okay, all those super chats come in. We're filing on the taxes. Believe me, okay? Believe me. Taxman's watching us. Okay, that's I don't know. It's one of those things. Taxman's watching you. You're like, well, you gotta check that. Mike Case has beat Ohio. Mentor, Ohio was the Taxman. By the way, I grew up in Hinckley, Medina area, not too far from Mentor, 20-30 minutes away. Petersburg, Michigan from 1MM4 Beast. Watching there from Petersburg, Michigan. So keep it going. Shout out your city. Let me know where you guys are watching from. Or you can type this one if you want to shout out as we are letting this audience get matriculated and getting building up. It's Tuesday. We're trying a little something different. Going live a little earlier than expected. Try to catch some people on their lunch break, potentially on the East Coast, 12:33 p.m. Eastern, as we've got now about 50 people watching. Give me a me if you want a shout out, and I will give you one here live on the show. We've got quite a few things to talk about. I'm going to talk about some injury reports. We're going to talk about depth chart. We're going to talk about people who are making moves in fall camp, and maybe even some guys who are being held back by their own play or just some injury things that I want to make sure you guys are known about. Also, I am going to discuss some Jim Harbaugh NFL rumors, some things that I think were speculated, but we didn't really know from last year's coaching search around the NFL, leading into this 2023 postseason, where inevitably I'm guessing that Jim Harbaugh NFL rumors will pop up once again. Michigan kicks off the season on September 2nd. So what are we, 16 days away? Is that, I'm trying to do quick math now, 21, 19, 18 days away. We're 18 days away. That's how good I am in math. East Carolina, a team that went 8-5 last year. This is no UConn 2-10 team or some Hawaii team that went 3-9. This is an 8-5 Eastern Carolina team. So predict the score, if you will, down in the comments. I'm going 45-14 Michigan, although the more I think about it, I actually might be disappointed if Michigan only scores 45 points, given the ridiculous amount of talent on this offense. The two deep, I think, on either side of the ball is a top 25 team in all of college football. So give me some score predictions. I see Josh Schutt says go blue from Columbus, Ohio. 13-0 from Rashid. And Smoking Sundays says, James, do you think we will see Edwards a lot more in the slot this year? That's coming up on a segment here later in the show that I'll talk about. 52-6 from Mike K. Also 52-6 from Andrew. Let's give you the rundown of today's Michigan Football Report live Tuesday show. We're going to go inside Michigan football fall camp. The Wolverines are halfway through the fall. 18 days left in in this month of August run up until that game on September 2nd. Let you know who's making moves, what freshmen are making an impact, and some injuries that not really being talked about anywhere else out there on the internet. We're also going to talk the offensive and defensive depth charts, and I will have 2 live audience mailbags. So if you want to get on those, you can super chat or use hashtag Michigan. I'll toss that to the top of producer Jack's queue. Question coming up as let's take a look at the audience numbers. I'm not going live until we have at least 100 people watching. We got 57 only watching right now as we've been live for just about 5 minutes. Will J.J. McCarthy have over or under 3,000 passing yards in this 2023 season? What ended up with last year, Jack? Was it 2,719, I think was the number last year? Take a look at that if you can. Yeah, toss those up if you want on screen. We can show JJ's number. This is what JJ did last year compared to what my projections are for him in this 2023 season. So 2,719. So as you see by my projections right there, I do think that Jim Harbaugh recognizes what he has. If you look back, and we did this last year, right after the season, I guess earlier this year in January, February, the jump that Andrew Luck took from his second year, but first year as a starter at Stanford in 2009 to his second year as a starter, third year in the program, just like JJ this year, was ridiculous. The amount of, he went from like 13 touchdowns to 35 touchdowns. He went from like 2,200 yards to 3,500 yards, and I expect a similar, although maybe not as extreme, of a come up for JJ McCarthy in the stats. Since you guys are probably wondering, only, 3 quarterbacks in Michigan football history have had a 3,000-yard season. I mean, the passing records for season and game sometimes are embarrassing for this program. John Navarre, 3,331 yards in 2003. Shea Patterson with 3,061 yards in 2019. And then Jake Rudock with 3,017 yards in 2015. JJ's paltry 2,700 yards last year with the best running back attack in college football that maybe college football seen in 5 years. That was the 8th best passing season in Michigan football history. Crazy enough. So I'm going to go O. He see a lot of O's coming in, a lot of blowouts in predictions coming as well. 56-3, 46-9, a go blue, but a ton of overs. I don't think I've seen a single under for any of the people in the live chat. Mike K says if we want to win the national title, he needs to throw for nearly 3,500. I think outside of Georgia the last couple of years, you've seen that play out over the last decade in college football, a pass-first offense winning the national championship. All right, as we're approaching 100 viewers, let's all do it together. Type Go Blue in the comments. I'll join in there in the live chat. Give me a Go Blue in the live chat, just like you see. Go Blue, Go Blue, Go Blue. You can type it 5 times, just like I did there as well. And we're at 78 people watching live, so 22 more. The best way to do that is to get the chat rate going so YouTube shows this to more Michigan football fans, puts it at the top of their YouTube feed, and go ahead and like the videos. We've got 22 likes. I can't go live without 100 live viewers, start the actual show, the segments, and all the things we want to talk about. We want to have at least 100 viewers. We're right at 80 now and 50 likes on the video. Right now, we've got 26 likes, so we've just almost doubled the likes here in just a moment. But keep liking the video if you can for me. Type the Go Blues and keep liking as it is now 12:38 in the East Coast, 11:38 here in Dallas, Texas. I've got some of this blue Kool-Aid. I'll tell you about that here in a second. This is a vodka, half water with some blue dye, and I might be chugging it. You never know. I might get, fall over drunk on a Tuesday afternoon here on the Michigan Football Report. 86 people watching live, 30, what do we have? 30 what likes, Jack? It is 32 likes. So keep liking the video if you can, as we are approaching just shy of 100 people watching live. All right, Jack, toss my Twitter account up there. I'll make you guys a deal while we're waiting for the audience to build up a second. Go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter. Jack just put it in the live chat. It's at James Yoder. So if you just want to click that, you'll pop into Twitter, or head over to Twitter just for a moment, but make sure you come back to the stream. I guess it's called X now, right? So they changed the name. We're still calling it Twitter for the foreseeable future. Next 5 people, Twitter will never die. I'm still calling it a retweet if you want to have that. So next 5 people to follow me, I will follow back. If you already follow me and I haven't followed you back, feel free to reply to my latest tweet. Just be like, hit me with the follow back, watching live, and I will give you credit for following back in the previous life cycle of my Twitter account. All right, Couple more questions for you before we get rolling with the show. 85 people watching, 39 likes. So 11 more of you guys, please hit like on the video so we can get this program in front of as many Michigan football, or hell, college football fans as we possibly can. If you haven't yet, let me ask this question. Sorry, first, I almost jumped ahead, Jack. How many rushing yards will Donovan Edwards have this season? He ended up just shy of 1,000 last year, had 500 plus over the last 3 games. Ohio State, Purdue, and then against TCU. Hell, if Michigan would have been down by 18 points multiple times in the second half against TCU, the Don himself would have had well over 1,000 last season. But nevertheless, he was just shy. So how many will he have? Brad, we've got a super chat from Brad Bootgerit. I probably am hacking your name. Brad, you are on the helmets multiple times. So if you toss 5 more on, you've got another helmet sticker for this season. Got a bunch of you guys on the helmet sticker that we'll go over here in a second. As a matter of fact, Jack beat me to it. Let's take a look at the super chat leaderboard for this season. Now, when did we start this, Jack? Was it the Jaden Davis commitment, or was it after that? So in this, what we'll call the season, following the offseason last year, March 31st, yeah. So we started at March 31st. So this is only through, I think, 2 live shows, right, or 3. It was this one. We did one in April, and then we did one in July when Harbaugh's suspension news was dropping, which we'll talk about here to start the show. John Blaze, my guy, John Blaze Wolver on Twitter, Backroad Blue, who I haven't seen today at all yet. Josiah Kiter came through with just dropping some super bombs on the last show. Another $5 coming in from Dominic Franchillo, another super chat member. Jim Prindable, Charles Kennebrew, Matthew Spence, Javier Gregson, Jacksonville Zoe, and Mike K. and Cody Mom for our super chat leaderboard for this season. $5. Thank you so much. A longtime hard hat member himself, Dominic Franchillo. I might be able to track yours down, Dominic, and show the people. There's quite a few of them, but see Charles Kennebrew, I see Javier, John Blaze, Backroad Blue. I don't see yours right off the top. Apologize for that. But if I see it throughout the show, I'll make sure to toss it up there. So thank you so much, Dominic. And we have reached right shy, just 2 or 3 more viewers, and we are there. 6 more likes needed to get the show started. So if you've not liked the show, if you want to know more about Michigan football injuries, some depth chart, and some Jim Harbaugh 2024 speculation, hit that like button as we are at 44 likes. We required by law to get to 50 likes before we can jump into our first segment. $2 coming in from Mike K. Mike, a super chat helmet sticker member. Jack, while we're here after Mike's, why don't we show the people the end screen, right? We promised this last year, is the new end screen for this show, and it'll be on every show for the next couple weeks. And during the season, we'll put it on 2 to 3 shows per week, giving showing some love back to the people who supported the show throughout the 2022 season into 2023, past signing day, a couple live shows we did February and into to March. Now, this is the 2023 season now that started with Jaden Davis's commitment on March 31st. So this is our 4th live show of what we're calling the 2023 season, which will end on February 7th. Here's what Jack put together. If you want to see your name, if you're one of these 40 people who contributed over $10 or $10 or more last season, you're going to see your name here. Jack, roll that footage. All right, thank you to the 40 people who contributed $10 or more to the Super Chat. John Blaze, their Super Chat MVP last year, leading the way right now. Wolverine Alaska, John Crandall, Blue Wolverine, Cool Motif, Some Guy, Rick Harfer, Javier Gregson, Shane Johnson, and Cody Momfer, and then about 30 other people who were in that between that $10 and $100+ range on the menu. So here's the Super Chat menu for today. Not really a big Super Chat show. We don't have a ton of crazy antics planned because it's only 12:30, 12:45 here on a Tuesday. But every 50 likes of the show, which we've got to do one, I'm going to take a chug of the, we hit 50 likes, we did take a chug of the Blue Kool-Aid vodka. So that's the reward you guys get there. $5 Super Chat. Really any Super Chat for the most part, but if we get a bunch, the $5 or more get the They get the priority. $10, you get a sticker on the helmets. We'll be giving shout-outs to helmets, and you'll be on next year's end screen like you just saw. So join the Hard Hat Club. $20, what do we say for 20, Jack? Bring that one back up, menu. $20, you get a wheel spin. We will talk about, why don't we just show them what the wheel says, Jack, here in a second. And then if we get $250, I will shotgun a full beer here live on a Tuesday. Father of two, nevertheless, I'm chugging beers, shotgunning beers, afternoon of Tuesday. Got to go pick up my kid later. No big deal. That's the kind of guy I am. So take a look at it, Jack. If you could read off to the people what it says, before we know what the wheel spin is.
Yeah, what we got never have I ever. I got like 100 never have I ever prompts that we'll do. 10 push-ups, Yoder's Michigan memories, spin again, wear a helmet for 1 minute, yodeling Yoder, sing the fight song, and 5 jumping jacks, which I believe is me doing the jumping jacks.
Oh, jumping jack. Okay, I got it. Jack Lotteray behind the scenes, a.k.a. Young Harbaugh, as we have reached 102 concurrent viewers, so we can get this party started. Jack, tell the people, or show the people, there you go, subscribe, our current subscriber number. I'll put that in the live chat. If you guys can, anytime you can copy, paste this, send this to your Michigan football group chats. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit that button to subscribe below the channel. We're approaching 27,000 subscribers here on the show. Recap the menu for today's Michigan Football Report live on August 15th. We're going to go inside Michigan football camp. Have a lot to talk about here. Be a longer segment. We'll also put it out on demand on the channel later on tonight. We're then going to the offensive depth chart, some rumors and some injuries in and around the Michigan football offense. We'll take your questions. So super chat, any amount, get you in there, or use hashtag Michigan. Then we'll do a Michigan football defensive depth chart after that, followed by one more audience Q&A using hashtag Michigan, or, of course, super chatting to get your question on the show. All those segments, 5 of them, will go out on the channel between now and the weekend, but we will have more original content coming up later on Thursday, Friday of this week. So we're going to be jam-packed. Some days we even go 2 videos this week, crazy enough. It is the Michigan Football Report. A bunch to talk about. Let's get it rolling right now. Take a look at some Michigan football fall camp rumors. The Wolverines have completed 2 weeks of fall camp and have less than 3 weeks until they take on East Carolina at the Big House. On the Cock, Jack. It's on the Cock. It's on the Peacock network on September 2nd. And we're going to talk about the latest on breakout players, some injury rumors, and a little bit of the playbook that Michigan has rolling out this fall with Sharon Moore kind of grabbing the offensive coordinator job by the reins as the solo offensive coordinator. As I just mentioned, as part of the live show, if you're watching on demand, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. It's the Michigan Football Report, the most subscribers and the most watched show of any platform, TV, radio, podcast, YouTube. We have the biggest audience in the year of 2022, and we're going to definitely have it in 2023. Coming up, we're going to go inside Michigan football's fall camp, tell you about the freshmen that are making an impact, 5 big-time performers, and some injury rumors. But I did want to start off with some news housekeeping, some things that have happened since the last time we did a show. I've been pretty active on Twitter, so if you don't follow me there, you can keep up with me throughout the day on Twitter. But let's take a look at some things that you may want to know about, or I want to give my opinion out. First up, just in the last hour or two, this was put out there. Michigan's 5th game of the year, which would have been Jim Harbaugh's return to the field had he been suspended 4 games, which is our next story here. Michigan will face Nebraska September 30th on Fox's big noon kickoff. I think that's a win for Michigan. Don't have to go into a very ruckus environment in Nebraska on September 30th at night. You guys saw what happened 2 years ago. Michigan needed, a top 10 Michigan team needed almost a miracle, right? A strip of a quarterback and then a field goal to beat a Nebraska team that was under 500 there on the road in Lincoln. That was a night game. Now it is going to be a day game, so I think Michigan definitely benefits from that being a big noon kickoff. If you guys didn't see this, this came through on Saturday. We put a YouTube short out on the channel. I'll put it across different socials as well. 2 weeks ago, Yahoo Sports and some others, they said, look, the NCAA and Jim Harbaugh and Michigan, they've agreed to a 4-game suspension. Harbaugh's going to serve at the beginning of the year. Sharon Moore, 1 game. A couple other coaches, I think it was the tight ends coach as well, Grant Newsome, 1 game as well. But apparently it's off the table now. Why is it off the table? my takeaway from kind of marinating on it for the last 3 days, talking to a few people, is that Michigan kept pushing the envelope. Hey, let's reduce that to 3 games. We know we said 4, but I don't know. Maybe we got 3. How about 2 games instead? How about we don't suspend Sharon Moore at all? How about we don't suspend Grant Newsom at all? Or Mike McDonald had that show cause penalty. And the NCAA, it seems like to me, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, have just kind of thrown their hands in the air and said, look, if you're not going to take the 4 games we agreed to, right? Just think about this in a court proceeding, right? Life in prison, we'll plea deal out there for 25 years in prison. You're out in 15 with good behavior. And then the guy's like, well, I don't know. How about instead 10 years in prison instead of 25? That's kind of what Jim Harbaugh seemed to be doing here. NCAA just said, okay, cool. Well, we're going to just take it to the Committee on Infractions after the season. You might end up getting suspended 6 games, 8 games, 10 games, 12 games. We'll see how that takes place. But as of now, Jim Harbaugh will be on the sideline for every single game this fall for the 2023 Michigan football team, ranked number 2 in the polls. Report coming out last night. Josh Pate from CBS Sports and 24/7 Sports Recruiting. He's got a show here on YouTube as well. Broke some news. I mean, it's not like he put out like a breaking story. He just said it, and he's like, well, this is information I've been sitting on, that Jim Harbaugh was offered a very large contract. We saw what Sean Payton got offered with the Broncos. Would end up being like $12+ million a year. Jim Harbaugh turned down an offer from the Broncos, which reportedly would have paid him in the range of $9 to $12 million a year. Before they offered the job to Sean Payton, who was on the bench, right? He was a Super Bowl winning head coach, stepped away from the Saints for a couple seasons. Now he is back as the head coach of the Broncos. I don't blame Harbaugh, right? I'm not sure why you want to take a role of a team like that went 5-12 or whatever last year. Have Russell Wilson. He looked bad, and then you've got to compete over the next 5 to 10 seasons with the Chargers, one of the best 5-8 quarterbacks in the NFL, and then, of course, the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, the unquestioned best quarterback in the NFL. So maybe that's why he turned it down. Wasn't the right role for Harbaugh, but I did think that was interesting thinking forward about Jim Harbaugh's future, where his mind is at, as he had multiple meetings with the Broncos, and they actually flew to the state of Michigan to meet with Jim Harbaugh in person. The question I'm asking, though, is why defer the suspension to 2024? If he's going to be spending 4 games this year, right? We had East Carolina and UNLV and Bowling Green and Rutgers. You, an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator coming back from last year. Because next year, guys, right? 2024 could be one of the great rebuilds in Michigan football in the last, maybe since 2008 when Rich Rod took over from a 2007 Michigan team with Lloyd Carrs last year that replaced, 9 starters on offense, 8 starters on defense going into 2008. Think about next year. Colson Loveland might not even be your starting tight end. You could lose all 11 starters. If you consider Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum starters, Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, A.J. Barner, J.J. McCarthy, 5 offensive linemen, you could lose all 11 starters. You could lose your OC, your DC, 2 other jobs. Will Jim Harbaugh want to come back and be suspended 3 games, 4 games, 5 games under those circumstances? Doesn't make a ton of sense to me. So I'm not claiming I have any inside info on this. I'm just thinking, right? Could this be the last dance? Could Jim Harbaugh kind of say, this is my best team. If I'm ever going to win a national title, this is the year. F the NCAA. We did nothing wrong. So I'm just going to push this thing out, go for a national title this year, see what happens after the season. Maybe he takes an NFL job. Maybe he retires from coaching, although I doubt that. Michigan will replace at least 16, if not up to as many as 18 starters from this team. I mean, the only guys who are probably guaranteed to come back are Will Johnson, because, of course, he is an underclassman. Derek Moore, if he's even a starter, but he might not be, right? That we'll talk about later on in the show. Both coordinators could be gone. They were both candidates for jobs last year. Minter, the Eagles defensive coordinator, Sharon Moore, multiple head coaching jobs. Michigan will need Harbaugh more than ever in 2024. Bad time for him to be suspended 3, 4, 5, even 6 games, as it seems that the NCAA is going to try and pin on him after this season. So I'll ask you guys the question: where will Jim Harbaugh play in 2024? If you think it's Michigan, give me an M in the comments below or in the live chat here on a Tuesday, as we're filming this live Tuesday afternoon. If it's the NFL, give me an N. If it's Michigan, type M. I don't know. I want to know from you guys. I want to hear the pulse of what you guys say. The live chat's saying the NFL right now. We've got 4 straight N's right off the top from the live chat. So let me know in the comments if you're watching this on demand later. Michigan or the NFL, give me an M or an N. For the first time since 1991, Michigan is a top 2 ranked team in the AP preseason poll. Wolverines behind just Georgia, the defending national champions, 2-time defending national champions. who are going for, if they accomplish it, will be the first 3-time national champion in AP poll history, going back to 1936. So Michigan number 2, Ohio State number 3. Only question for them, really quarterback. Same with Alabama, quarterback and maybe wide receiver. LSU, pretty good at all phases of the ball. USC, that defense. Penn State, quarterback as well, but they've got a really good one in Drew Aller. Florida State, Clemson, and Washington. Florida State and Washington have 2 of the better quarterbacks in all of college football. That's where Michigan is inside of the top 25. Other Big Ten teams you see there, Wisconsin number 19 and Iowa 25. Washington and USC, of course, will join the Big Ten next season. Let's go inside Michigan football camp as we are into week 3 of this camp, and 2 3/4 weeks left until the Wolverines take on ECU. The biggest storyline for me right now in camp is the battle for quarterback 2 next to Will Johnson. You've got 3 players who are battling for it. Josh Wallace, 5th-year player, transferring over from UMass under Don Brown's defense. If you recall, Jim Harbaugh singing that song about Don Brown back in 2018. Amarian Walker, the redshirt freshman, switching over from wide receiver, got rave reviews in the spring, but really got burned in the spring game. And then a guy that's really been undiscussed, Jaden McBurrows, going for that cornerback number 2 spot. But here's where things are getting a little dicey here. Amarian Walker was in crutches last week around Wednesday, Thursday, all through the weekend. Michigan had intra-squad scrimmage on Saturday. Walker was not participating at all and was seen on crutches multiple different days last week. Haven't heard what that injury was, haven't got definitive. I don't want to speculate because people get really in their feelings if you speculate an injury and it turns out to be something else or more or less severe. So I'm just going to say a lower body injury is what we were told. Not sure if he's going to be out for too long yet, but as soon as we do, we will have content up here on the channel. So keep an eye out for that one. All right, I've got Josh Wallace as the starter because of his multiple years of starting for UMass. But Amarian Walker is somebody that Michigan's coaches and staff really feel excited about throughout this season. If this injury for him is more than just something that nicks him up for a week or two, then that could be detrimental to Michigan's development of the quarterback role throughout this season. If you guys haven't seen, Michigan is not the favorite for the Big Ten championship. That's Ohio State. They are plus 160. Michigan's plus 180. Penn State plus 550. And Wisconsin, top 4 as far as the odds are concerned. This is clearly a betting thing going on past odds that Michigan's only won 2 Big Ten titles, his last 2 in the last 15 years. Ohio State's won, basically 3 out of every 4 for the last 2 decades. So I understand outside of the quarterback position why Ohio State would be seen as the more talented team and more likely odds. But with Michigan being undefeated last year, 2 straight wins, and hosting the Buckeyes with a new quarterback in the Big House, maybe it's a little bit surprising, but they are near even odds. You guys can bet this one and a bunch of other things. How many games Michigan will win, whether they win the Big Ten East, whether they win the national championship game, and every single Wolverines game. And you can even live bet during the game as well. Plus, on Saturday mornings, they put out player props. J.J. McCarthy, over 195 yards. You can bet over, bet under. Do it at BetUS, chatsports.com/GoBlue. Promo code is GoBlue. If we get a chance, toss that in the live chat for us, Jack. BetUS, the preferred sportsbook partner of the Michigan Football Report. Go get started with them. You get 125% deposit bonus. You put in your first 100, you get an extra 125, 200, extra 250, and up from there. If you put $50 on Michigan winning the Big Ten, you get your 50 back, plus you win $90. That seems like a pretty interesting deal to me. I would have won a lot more money the last couple seasons, given that Michigan was a much bigger underdog to Ohio State both years. But nevertheless, I'm putting 50 on Michigan win the Big Ten, so my reward will be get my 50 back plus win a cool 90 bones. We're taking you more inside the Michigan football fall camp right now as we talked about Amarian Walker's injury. Why don't I do a little player profile spotlight on Josh Wallace, the transfer from UMass. Last season, 41 tackles, 3 tackles for losses, 2 interceptions, forced a fumble, 8 pass breakups. As we left last season, and all these players, the offensive linemen, Zach Zinter, and obviously guys like Blake Corum and others came back for their 4th or their 5th years when they could have potentially gone to the NFL. Trevor Keegan, another one. We said, look, The only position that's a question mark on this team is the cornerback 2. Michigan didn't get any of the bigger names, like there's a couple players from Virginia Tech and North Carolina. Ended up getting a smaller school player, Josh Wallace, who has performed struggling throughout his career. I watched a bunch of film on him over the past month or so. He is my starter for the opening game. I'm just going ahead and saying, booking it, Josh Wallace will be Michigan's starting corner outside, next to Will Johnson in this first game against East Carolina. So got that, as just something that I'm locking it in. I'm putting it in pen, putting it in marker. Now, there's other concerns maybe about Will Johnson himself, which I will talk about here in just a moment. Wallace is my starter at cornerback 2. In a moment, I'm going to tell you about some breakout stars this fall for the Wolverines, who's really kind of upped their game, who's standing out above amongst the crowd of 100-plus Wolverine players. But before we do, I want to make sure we dive more into Will Johnson. If you recall, he didn't participate in spring practice at all, injured his knee in the college football playoff loss to TCU. He claims to be 100%. He claims he's going to be ready for the opener against East Carolina, but will Michigan coaches limit him by not wanting to put him out there if he's not fully 100% and risk him when you've got 4 or 5, hell, maybe even 6 or 7 games to start the year where with Will Johnson or without him, you really shouldn't have much chances of losing if you are this football team. So it's one to keep an eye out for. I think just like during spring practice when Michigan didn't have the Don and Blake Corum, they were able to work on more of the running game, or the passing game, and develop more backup running backs. This could be a situation here if Will Johnson doesn't play or only plays maybe a couple series, that you can develop players more like Josh Wallace or Amarian Walker, Jaden McBurrows of the like. So will Johnson be in the lineup? I think that is a question for Michigan fans to keep an eye out. If he sat out the first game, 2 games, 3 games, I will just say I will not be surprised, but I don't expect it. I think he'll be in there for the first 2, 3, or 4 series before Michigan pulls him, assuming they've got a 10-plus point lead by the end of the first quarter into the second quarter, pull him, not want to risk him injuring things if they're in control of the games against schools like East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and hell, even Rutgers. More injury rumors from this team. Michigan had an intra-squad scrimmage on Saturday, and there were a couple players who were not in uniform. Most notably, Cornelius Johnson, Michigan's leading wide receiver, returning for this 2023 season, sidelined with an injury on Saturday's full inter-squad scrimmage. Is it a cause for concern? I mean, he had a hell of a game versus Ohio State, 2 touchdowns, 75 yards, and 71 yards, something like that. I can't exactly remember. Just about 500 yards receiving last year for him. 32 catches. Came on later in the year, right? The Ohio State game kind of was overshadowed in the Purdue game and the TCU game by Roman Wilson and Ronnie Bell. But as Michigan's leading returning receiver, I think he gained a lot of confidence from that Ohio State game and from the passing game that Michigan put into place throughout spring practice. My take on this is this one kind of hurts because if it's something short term and they want to keep him out of a full pad scrimmage, fine. If it turns out to be more than that and he is out for games or any certain amount of time, that is a big blow because the wide receiver position and the quarterback position, I think, are the 2 positions, maybe corner as well, that Michigan can at least afford to have a significant injury this season. It's, quarterback, we know JJ's the starter, but what's behind him? Wide receiver, you've only got 2 proven players in Roman Wilson and, of course, Cornelius Johnson. And you've got a bunch of guys after them that are freshmen, redshirt freshmen, sophomores that haven't done much of anything in their time at Michigan so far. So that is cause for concern. What's not maybe cause for concern is there are a couple of wide receivers that are making a big impact in fall practice so far. Starting on the defense side of the ball, though, Cameron Calhoun has been maybe the best performer. He's not even a big-time recruit, right? It might not be one that you guys remember, but Cameron Calhoun, keep an eye out for his name, getting playing time early in the secondary. He will be out there on special teams, on kick returns, punt returns, going in after and getting after the kick and punt returners. So could he be someone who benefits from a Will Johnson taking a step back or the Amarian Walker injury? We will see. But I like Frederick Moore, Smaj Morgan. Those are players that could see the field early on when Michigan goes to 3, 4, and 5 wide receiver sets. With the injury to Cornelius Johnson, something to keep an eye on. Maybe they want to limit him early on if it's something minor. Benjamin Hall on there as well. We saw what he did in the spring game, although behind the Don and Blake Corum won't get a ton of run this year. I mentioned the 2 wide receivers because this. Tyler Morris, slated to be my starting wide receiver 2, kind of on the outside with Roman Wilson being on the inside. He missed Saturday's scrimmage as well, dealing with something minor. Right, I'm not going to speculate further on injury until we at least have multiple sources on what that is and how long it could keep him out for, but did not participate on Saturday. So Michigan's younger wide receiver, Samaj Morgan, Fred Moore, all these guys that haven't got a ton of playing time, they're going to have Darius Clemens, right? They're going to have to step up if Michigan is down a starter or two, or potentially has to go 3, 4, 5 wide receiver sets in any of the games early on in the year. So I'm looking for some of these wide receivers have to step up. Will they step up? Didn't see much for last year, but we'll see how things shake out as the Wolverines are 18 days away from taking on East Carolina at the Big House. Big news here. I was voted the best Twitter account for Michigan football for you to follow throughout the 2023 season. Thank you so much to the voting committee. Now, it's my mom. She voted me, but nevertheless, we saw the election of 2020. Every vote counts. Doesn't matter. Don't be an election denier. I was elected #1 Twitter account for Michigan football. It doesn't matter who the voting committee is because every vote counts. So make sure you guys follow me on Twitter. I'll toss it down in the comments and the description of today's show. Give me a follow. It is at James Yoder on Twitter. My breakout stars of Michigan football fall camp to date. I want to kind of walk you through who has been performing, who has been excelling for this team to wrap up today's show. Chris Jenkins, I think he's going to have a massive season this year. He could be a big-time player, right? He could be a guy who is a top 10, top 15 pick, or even better if things shake out the way we expect him to going into this season, him being a multiple-year starters and really being the man on the defensive line this season. How about Roman Wilson? Love what I saw from him late in the TCU game. Of course, scored that one touchdown early on. I believe he's going to be Michigan's deep threat this year, again, like he's been the last couple of years, but also get even more involved in the running game. Last season, 25 catches, 376 yards, 15 yards per catch for Roman Wilson, and 4 touchdowns for the Hawaiian, we'll call him the Hawaiian Dynamo, Roman Wilson. 25 catches, 376 and 15 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns, but had 2 rushing touchdowns on the ground. One of them I think was in the TCU game. One definitely was in the Hawaii game early on. He has had a hell of a spring and now a hell of a fall camp for this team. Other players to keep an eye out. Derek Moore. Second year in the program, was an Oklahoma commit, if you guys remember, coming into the 2022 season, that signing day, flipped to Michigan, had some performance, right? He was on the field, wasn't necessarily a star or anything like that last year, but has really broken out, lost some weight, and is just looking lean and jacked for this team. Zach Zinter, maybe the best player in the Big Ten, right? And that includes Marvin Harrison, all right? He's not going to be drafted because he's an offensive guard in the top 5 or the top 10, but all things considered, he might be the best player at his position and might be, based on position, the best overall player in the NFL. And last but not least, Rod Moore was a low 3-star player, was starting by the end of his true freshman year in 2021, really broke out last year, and him, along with Will Johnson, Mike Sainristil, Makari Page, put together, as long as they can get a second cornerback, that 5th guy in the secondary, I think could be one of the top 2 or 3 secondaries in all of college football this year. Biggest position battles, folks. #1 here, linebacker, okay? Linebacker is a big area to keep an eye on. Mike Barrett and the transfer from Nebraska, Ernest Hausman, 2 guys who are just absolutely going at it. Mike Barrett did not come back for a 6th year to hit the bench. Ernest Hausman didn't transfer away a starting role in a Big Ten school in Nebraska to also sit the bench. So that's one to keep an eye on. Linebacker, cornerback 2, and tight end. We're going to have our Michigan football offensive depth chart coming up, so that's one to hear my thoughts on there. Those are the biggest position battles so far as we are now into week 3 of Michigan's 2023 fall camp. If you have yet to do so, subscribe to the channel. It's youtube.com/MichiganTV, youtube.com/MichiganTV. Send it to your friends, send it to your Michigan football group chat. Daily shows from today all the way through signing day on February 7th. Make sure you guys subscribe, youtube.com/MichiganTV. All right, we just wrapped up our Inside Michigan Football Fall Camp. Where we go there, Jack? Probably like 20-plus minutes? 21 and a half minutes on that segment. That'll be up later in the show later tonight, maybe around 4, 5, 6 o'clock Eastern. Shout out to Seep sitting in on that one. Seep, so do you think we did? Okay? Did good? All right. Good stuff, Seeps. We'll talk about that later. We'll recap after the live show. Have a little bit of a shadowing coming in here, a little company development, employee development. So let's talk about the offensive depth chart coming up here in a second. But I want to know from you guys what you think about this. Who is your most hated college football team other than Ohio State? For me, I think it's actually either Tennessee or Georgia. Georgia, just lately, I think their fans are becoming kind of annoying. Tennessee, because I'm still bitter about the 1997 season and Philip Fulmer voting Michigan 4th or lower to stick it to Michigan for the Heisman Trophy, Peyton Manning, Charles Woodson, and causing Michigan to get a split national title with Nebraska winning the coaches poll, Michigan winning the AP poll. So let me know who your favorites are, your most. Some people are saying Michigan State. And that's just one, but I don't know if I even want to give them any credit. So I've seen Michigan State, MSU, Ohio State from the Taxman, yeah, but other than them, Georgia, Rick Moeller says Alabama, Notre Dame, two really good ones. I think Notre Dame is definitely up there in my top 3 or 4. Charisse Armistad, the big Michigan fan, says, go Michigan Wolverines. Charisse, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, I'm just going to call you Charmistad in the chat. She's a big-time Michigan, or she or he, Michigan football fan, number 1. Notre Dame and MSU from Mitch. How about this one? Jay Floyo 11 says, I respect Ohio State. He does not respect Michigan State. Who does? Penn State from the Taxman. Their fans make you hate the team. I could feel that one. Notre Dame, USC. Jay Floyo 11 also says he hates Florida. $5 super chat coming in from Brad Bucherite. Is that a second one? Is that a $10? Is that a $10? So, Brad, you are getting a helmet sticker. Jack, why don't we do this to make sure that people aren't annoyed with me? Here's what we're going to do. Anytime someone supers 10 or more, they get a sticker. They get on the helmet sticker. I want you, Jack, to toss up, show people what they get. They get on the helmet. I'm going to start after Michigan's first game. We got 3 or 4 of these filled up already. I'll show you guys. All this is from just this season. This is our 4th live show. $10 super chatters, or no, I'm going to start mailing these out to people who super chat, and you will get on our end screen for next season. So, Jack, why write Brad's name on here? Why don't we roll that end screen one more time? So this is what any $10 super chat gets you guys, is you will be on this following the season in February. We will be on the end screen for all of our shows going out of this offseason into and throughout all of the 2024 season. Roll that tape. All right, there's our Super Chat leaderboard from this year so far. 4th live show, and I'm going to toss Brad's helmet sticker on the helmet. So, Jack, make sure we get me back up on here in a second. So that's the 2023 Super Chat leaderboard. You notice the guy at the top, John Blaze. He was our leader for 2022, and that's why he is the very top of that end screen that'll go up on honestly, the show that'll go up tonight. If you guys watched the show that we just did, the segment, the news and rumors from fall camp, that will be the end screen on there. And Brad, I've got you right there on the helmet, my man. So you are another helmet sticker to add to the many you had throughout last year, and I believe a few on this year. Back in the Jaden Davis commitments. Yep, you were on there as well. So appreciate that, Brad. Join the Hard Hat Club. Go Blue, Bosa from John. Any $10 super chat, you'll be able to sticker out of the hard hat, and you will be on the end screen for the 2024 season. After this, coming up in February, we'll make one of those super chat end screens for next season. All right, that is the super chat menu right there. Every $5 will put you, give you a shout out. I'll answer your question on screen. We've got a live Q&A coming up here in a few minutes. Sticker on the new helmet for $10. A wheel spin, which we showed a few minutes ago. I got to do crazy, stupid human tricks for any $20. And then if you get to $250 total, I will shotgun a full beer on the live show. Responsible of me to shotgun a beer right in the middle of my workday, but hey, I do it for the people. All right, now I am going to take you through my offensive depth chart. Jack, before we do, I don't want to trip myself. I just I stepped on my own shoelaces. I'm going to have to tie my shoes. I like Jay Floyo. He says, I almost got my master's from Florida, but he refused, couldn't do it. Choosing football loyalty over his educational and professional endeavors. Jay Floyo, that's my kind of guy. As my shoe tying is being a little suspect here. All right, there we go. All right, offensive depth chart time. There won't be a ton of surprises here, but I'm going to give you my analysis of each position. But there's one surprise that I think you guys are going to be really intrigued in it. So let's get it rolling. It's the Michigan football offensive depth chart. Get started. Michigan gets their season started on September 2nd. Who will be in the starting lineup for this offense? From everything I've learned over the past few weeks, coming out of spring practice in April, March and April, into this fall camp, where does the depth chart shake out? What does it look like headed into the opening game against East Carolina on September 2nd? We will tell you every single position, first string and second string, but did want to tell you we are presented by Manscaped. Michigan Football Report loves Manscaped. I use Manscaped every single day. I've got the shower gel, the shampoo. I even got the beard trimmer. Kind of makes me looking good there on the beard. Go to manscaped.com. Use promo code GOBLUE, no spaces. Take over your bathroom with some great Manscaped men's grooming products. Use promo code GOBLUE, 20% off and free shipping. No surprise that J.J. McCarthy, of course, is Michigan's QB1 starting quarterback for the Wolverines, but might be surprising that he is backed up by Davis Warren. I think a lot of people coming out of spring ball were projecting that Jack Tuttle will be Michigan's backup quarterback, the former four-star quarterback who started a few games for Indiana like 4 seasons ago at this point. But nevertheless, Davis Warren has captured that backup role through 2 weeks of fall camp. I'm excited about J.J. McCarthy this year. Last year, 2,700 yards passing and 22 touchdowns. I think he levels up considerably, up to 3,300 yards. And folks, I'm basing those on 15 games because it is Houston or bust. 3,300 yards, 31 touchdowns. The 3,300 yards would be, the 31 touchdowns would be a Michigan football record by a significant margin. But that's what I've got. J.J. McCarthy, 221 passing yards per game. The only thing that's holding him back from hitting these numbers is if Michigan is so dominant in their first 5, 6, 7 games that he is pulled out of the game by, end of the second quarter, early third quarter, and Michigan just sticks to the running game and gives up the pass after they've got a 2 or 3 score lead. Let me know what you guys think, though. Will we have over or under 3,000 passing yards for J.J. McCarthy? As you might not know, Michigan's only had 3 quarterbacks in school history to have a 3,000-yard passing season. John Navarre back in 2003, Shea Patterson in 2019, and Jake Rudock in 2015. And Shea and Jake just barely. They're like 50, 60 yards over the 3,000 mark. So it's not something that happens often in Michigan. Seems like it happens at other schools by the 7th or 8th game most seasons. But let me know what you guys think. I'm going over. Let me know O or U. I think something to consider for Michigan's future. This is probably going to be JJ's last year. If he's a first-round projected quarterback, I encourage him to go pro. Okay? He might not. You never know. He seems to love what he's got going on in college. Maybe he wants to be the guy to lead this new crop of Michigan players after Corum and Edwards probably go pro, new offensive line next year. But if he goes pro as expected, as I expect him to, I think Michigan needs to go after a big-time starter in the portal after the season. We saw it, right? Notre Dame went and got a starting quarterback, 30-plus touchdowns from Wake Forest. Alabama went and got Notre Dame starting quarterback, and plenty of other situations 2 years ago. Hell, the Heisman Trophy winner left Oklahoma to go to USC. That's the kind of move Michigan's going to need to make after this season. I don't necessarily think, from what I've seen this summer, that Jaden Davis is going to be ready to be the starting quarterback as a true freshman in 2024. If JJ leaves, Michigan might be in a little bit of a pickle there. So get a 1-year, 2-year gap guy. I think that absolutely needs to be Michigan's focus. Start focusing on it right now, expecting JJ to leave and be ready to go after players heavy in the transfer portal come the Big Ten championship game when you've got that little lull before the college football playoff. If you guys didn't know, we relaunched on Instagram a couple months ago. We used to have an account with like 5,000 followers. We were inactive, and they said, nope, you can't have this account back anymore. So they canceled it. So we've relaunched it. It's at Michigan Football Report. Make sure you follow me. I'm going to be putting content on there, highlights from every single game, and a little bit of inside info. So there'll be certain days where there's stories that I want to break down and discuss, or injury stuff that I don't want the general public to have. So if you follow me, I'm going to make it private quite a few times this fall, talking about some sensitive stories around Michigan football. Going to be doing it on Instagram, so follow me at Michigan Football Report. Take a look at the running back depth chart. The best 2 players in, I think, all of college football at the running back position play for Michigan. Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. C.J. Stokes, running back number 3. Kalel Mullings. You might be saying, well, James, where's the freshman, et cetera, et cetera. Look, I think this is the game 1 depth chart. Michigan could potentially get to Benjamin Hall being the 3rd or 4th string guy by mid-season, end of the season. But this is game 1. These 2 players, right? ESPN just put out their top 100 players in college football this morning. Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum are in the top 20, right? 2 players on the same position, the top 2 rated running backs on their top 100 list. Combined, they went for 2,500 yards and 25 touchdowns last year. I expect them to even go higher than that in the 2023 season. I'm expecting Blake to probably around the same thing, 1,500, 1,600 yards, but I think Donovan Edwards will add 12 to 1,300 yards and probably 500, 600 yards receiving for Donovan Edwards as well. The Michigan Football Report is presented by Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with promo code GOBLUE. I love this bad boy. It is the Manscaped Beard Hedger. Let me just show them. Well, you can go to that, Jack, and I'll come back and show the people what they have. I love the Beard Hedger, and with summer here in full swing, I want to take a second to talk to you about self-care. When it comes to making an impression, proper grooming is essential to looking and feeling your best when you walk into a room. And that's why the sponsors of today's show, Manscaped, are committed to helping men around the world walk and talk with some swagger this summer with the best grooming tools on the market. For the sleekest version of yourself, Manscaped has you covered from head to toe, starting with their brand new Beard Hedge trimmer. With 1 guard and 20 adjustable lengths, this device is is a perfect travel companion for you to take with you and trim up that mane wherever you are. 8 million men worldwide trust Manscaped. And you can enjoy this offer from Manscaped to get going with them. Join 8 million men worldwide. Promo code GOBLUE. Support our sponsors. Support the show. Christmas is coming up. You might have some birthdays, etc. Get going with Manscaped. Their products are second to none. I love this one. It is the beard trimmer as it's falling out of there. The packaging is awesome. Reminds me of like opening up an iPhone for the first time, right? Love the packaging. This beard hedge kit has got everything you want to take care of your beard or trim it up. Manscaped.com. Promo code GOBLUE, 20% off and free shipping. Link is in the live chat, the comments, and the description. Manscaped.com, promo code GOBLUE, 20% off and free shipping. Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards. This is the best running back combination, I think, in college football in the last 20 years, right? It's right up there with the guys at Arkansas around 2006, 2007, the USC backfield, Reggie White and Reggie Bush and Lindale White, 2003, 2004, 2005. The Don, Blake Corum, I think they're going to absolutely have a field day running the ball and catching the ball this year. So the question for you guys is this. Will both players go over 1,000 yards rushing in the 2023 season? They were just 50, 60, whatever, 70 yards away last year, under 100 yards from doing it last year, and had it not been for injuries. I mean, look, Blake Corum missed the last 3.5 games of the year. Donovan Edwards missed 3 or 4 games throughout the year and was played his last 3 with a cast in his arm. And those are still the numbers that they put up. Give me a Y for yes, an N for a no. Jay Florio, Mitch Kappas in the live chat, they're saying yes. Let me know what you guys think. Give me a Y or an N. How about wide receiver? Wide receiver depth chart. Cornelius Johnson, Tyler Morris, my wide receiver 1 and 2. Now, I think Roman Wilson is clearly the number 2 wide receiver on this roster, but he's going to be playing more in the slot position. I mentioned on the news and rumors portion of the live show that we're putting out Wednesday evening on demand, Cornelius Johnson and Tyler Morris both missed Michigan's intra-squad scrimmage on Saturday, so something to keep an eye out this season. Roman Wilson, your starter, is a slot. Peyton O'Leary, the walk-on. Darius Clemens, Frederick Moore, even Christian Dixon, you haven't heard much of in his 3 seasons in Ann Arbor. That is your depth chart going into game 1. But the X factor, I think, is Donovan Edwards. Right? I think Donovan Edwards could be a threat. Not just catching the ball in the backfield, going wide, going downfield. He said in an interview last week, which I put out on my Twitter account, he said, I think I could be the best slot receiver in all of college football if I practice it, which I am this season. I'm hearing a lot of that now, is that Michigan is trying to get Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards on the field at least 10 to 15 snaps per game. So the defense is always guessing who's getting the ball. Oh gosh, Donovan Edwards is split out wide. They're definitely going to go to him. Well, hand off the ball to Blake Corum. He gets 30 yards. Play a couple plays later, you go deep to Donovan Edwards or anything like that. Donovan Edwards, I think he could lead the team in receptions, right? Maybe not lead him in yards, but could you see a scenario where Diamond Edwards had 35 or 40 catches, right? Three catches a game? Maybe. That would have led the group that's coming back, right? 32 catches for Cornelius Johnson last year, 25 for Roman Wilson. That is what I'm seeing. I think Diamond Edwards could be an X factor, unlike any Michigan seen, maybe since Denard Robinson at the quarterback position, 2009 through 2012. I'll ask you guys, though, who will lead Michigan in receiving yards this season? Now, I said the Don, maybe in receiving in receptions and catches, right? He might have about 45 catches. That could lead this team. Who will lead Michigan in receiving yards this season? I'm going to go with Roman Wilson. I think he's going to make a big impact in the deep passing game. Might only have 30, 35 catches, right? Slightly more than last year. But I think his yards per catch will be up there in the 20 to 23, 24 range, end up with 700 or 800 yards receiving. Maybe Michigan breaks out, has a little bit better of a downfield passing game overall, and one of these guys gets to 1,000. I'm going with Roman Wilson. Whatever his yards are, he will be my leading receiver for this team. The offensive line depth chart is really shaken out. Michigan's got 7 players that Jim Harbaugh thinks could get drafted this year. Highlighted by Zach Zinter, highlighted by Carson Barnhart and Trevor Keegan, the returning starters. Well, I should say Barnhart's been in and out of the starting lineup, but he's been in the lineup for a handful of years. 2 transfers coming over. Henderson from Arizona State, switching from guard, where he's played in his career, back to tackle, where he played a few years ago. And then Drake Nugent from Stanford is going to get the nod at the center position. Backed up, right? The 2 players, Trente Jones and Miles Hinton, are the players that could get drafted this year if they were to leave. Hinton's got 1 year of eligibility. I think Jones does as well from the COVID year. Giovanni El Hadi started a few games last year. Raheem Anderson and Reese Atterbury, who haven't played a ton. Anderson looked really good in the spring game. That is your 2 deep on the offensive line, and I am highly confident that that'll be your starting 5 when the season gets going here in under 3 weeks. If you guys have yet to do so, make sure you subscribe to the channel as we approach 27,000 subscribers. Jack, did you hear that? Beep, 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 beep. It's an alert. We may be doing live shows every single Michigan football game. I'm pretty confident we're going to do one. I'm going to be, camera and mic on me during the entire Michigan ECU game on September 2nd. It's being broadcast on the Peacock, the cock. Jack will have a camera on him, Jack will have a mic. You'll see me reacting to every play, which could get a little wild because I flip out. Jack, you remember last year. I flip out sometimes if good or bad things happen. So make sure you subscribe. And if you want a little entertainment, as an aside, mute your TV if you're watching the game, if you're watching the cock. Join us here on YouTube and follow along and just kind of see my analysis on every single play. Subscribe, youtube.com/MichiganTV. Take a look at that depth chart one more time. Ladarius Henderson, Trevor Keegan, Drake Nugent, Zach Zinter, Carson Barnhart. What you could see, what I believe, I did a little research, this could be the first time these 5 guys that one school has had 5 offensive linemen drafted in the same draft. And hell, if Trente Jones or Miles Hinton rotates in enough, they could go pro. You could have 6 or 7, which have never happened, of course, if 5 haven't happened. But 5 starters taken in one NFL draft has never happened as far as we know in college football history. That is what Michigan has to offer this year. And it's crazy to think, right? This offensive line with 3 starters coming over from the Pac-12, right? 2 from Stanford, Nugent and Hinton, and Henderson come over from Arizona State. Paired with Zach Zinter, Trevor Keegan, Carson Barnhart, Giovanni El Hadi. You've got just such a deep line. You've got maybe 9, 10 guys that Jim Harbaugh feels confident putting out there against anybody, including Ohio State. This offensive line could be better than the last 2 years that won the Joe Moore Award as the best offensive line in all of college football. Let me ask you guys this question. Who is your favorite Michigan football player right now? In the Yoder household, because I will just play in November, December, and January, really this whole offseason, the Diamond Edwards runs against Ohio State, the 2 75, 85, his 2 amazing runs against Purdue. My son is only 6 years old. He's become a Diamond Edwards fanatic, right? He's never even watched more than a couple plays of Michigan games, but he is a Diamond Edwards fanatic. So I got myself, I'm not a jersey guy at all, but I am now. The Yoders, we got matching Diamond Edwards jerseys. My son's got one. I've got one, in addition to, of course, you guys know, the Don shirt. So for me, it is Diamond Edwards. It's maybe unfair to Blake Corum in a little bit wise, because if you think about, if Michigan makes the playoff again this year, wins the Big Ten, Blake Corum is the catalyst of these 3 years, right? He's the guy who's been there for all 3 years in a big-time role, and he hasn't done anything against Ohio State yet, right? Hurt this past year, hurt kind of in 2021, only had that one run after halftime. is he going to make an impact, right? If he would have made the impact that Donovan Edwards or Hassan Haskins, right? Haskins last year, 5 touchdowns. This year, the Don, 220 yards, or in 2022, I should say. Blake Corum hasn't had that game against Ohio State, so I think that's why his aura in Michigan football history just isn't up there with some of the all-time greats yet, but he's got this last year to prove that otherwise, make a big impact against the Buckeyes, going for 3 straight BOSA, beat Ohio State again. Here's my surprise. I've got A.J. Barner, the starting tight end from Indiana last year. I've got him as Michigan's tight end 1, right? We'll call him maybe 1A. Colson Loveland, who a lot of Michigan fans are kind of already calling the next Jake Butts, Gronk Jr. He's young Gronk, baby Gronk maybe. Okay. Colson Loveland had some big plays, touchdown against Ohio State, long pass touchdown against Purdue. I'm pretty sure he got in against Purdue. That was a great catch in double coverage. He's kind of getting beat up by A.J. Barner, but I don't think Matt Hibner and then Max Bredesen behind him, I don't think that means that Colson Loveland's going to be a bench player. What you're going to see is the following from Michigan this year. You're going to see 2 running backs a lot, right? Corum and Edwards, one of them breaking out, wide receiver sometimes. You're also going to see a ton of 2 tight end sets where one guy is on the line as a true tight end and the other one goes out as a big slot receiver. So Colson Loveland, right, he might be a star in the making, but for right now, A.J. Barner is your starter, although it is as close as you can possibly be. 2 tight end sets will be frequent in this offense. Recapping the depth chart for you, J.J. McCarthy, Davis Warren, and Jack Tuttle, the 6-year transfer from Indiana. That's your depth chart at quarterback. Running back, the start game 1, I think Benjamin Hall will be in here eventually, but right now it's Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, C.J. Stokes, and Kalel Mullings, Mr. Jump Pass himself, who also fumbled against TCU, so some good, some bad for him. Cornelius Johnson, Tyler Morris, Roman Wilson, right? Morris was J.J. McCarthy's high school teammate when McCarthy was a junior. Morris was a sophomore before J.J. went down to IMG for his senior year. Both those guys, Johnson and Morris, have been hurt in the past week, didn't participate in Michigan scrimmage on Saturday, so something to keep an eye out for. On the offensive line, I've got these guys, my 5 starters. I would almost take it to the bank. Henderson, Keegan, Nugent, Zach Sinter, and Carson Barnhart, with Miles Hinton, Giovanni El-Hadi, Raheem Anderson, Reese Atterbury, and Trente Jones backing them up. As we just showed you, A.J. Barner, your starting tight end, with Colson Loveland. I'm calling him a starter because I think he'll be on the field enough to be considered a starter, tight end 1B, and he might overtake him, right? Maybe A.J. Barner's just a better practice player right now. Matthew Hibner, and then Max Bredesen is your tight end 4. All those guys got plenty of snaps, at least Loveland, Hibner, and Bredesen, like with a 3, 4, and 5 last year, and they were on the field a ton. So expect them to be on the field a ton again this season. I want to wrap up this part of the show by just asking you to go and comment Bosa. It's beat Ohio State again. This is the 4th year we've had this. Michigan has not lost since this political slogan was started. So go ahead, in the comments, in the live chat, give me a Bosa, and make sure you're doing that every time you watch one of our shows. Type in Bosa. Make sure everyone knows that this is the movement that was started by this show, and Michigan has not lost to Ohio State since. All right, we got a lot more to talk about on the Michigan Football Report. So if you guys don't mind, if you're interested in helping us spread the gospel, go ahead and share this on Twitter and Facebook too. So I just put the link to the show. I mean, you guys know how to get links, right? Just hit the share icon if you want. Share it on your Twitter account. Share it on your Facebook account, as we still have defensive depth chart. We've still got 2 audience Q&As, little mailbags. You guys can ask questions by using hashtag Michigan or super chatting, and you will go to the top of producer Jack's queue. Get that started in a second. Jack just popped off. He says, hey, I got to use the bathroom really quick. I'm going to pop off. James, take questions. I got Bosa from Douglas Foster. Blue Wolverine. There he is. Blue Wolverine. If you weren't here earlier, Blue, as soon as Jack gets back, I'm going to play it for you. We've got the end screen, which will be our end screen for this season, The Producers. I want to make sure you see that. So we'll have Jack play that here in a second. Long time no see. Welcome back to the show. Ronald Gibbs with a Bosa. Braden with a Bosa. Longtime viewer, Mark Machkowski. Bosa. Block the non-Bosa chatters. I think we should, actually. Ooh, Michigan sucks from Braden. Michigan sucks the life out of Ohio State from Braden. That's a pretty good comment, Braden. I appreciate that. Type the Bosas in the chats. Crimson Daddy, who cares about how many linemen get drafted? The old line with the most. No, lucky at practice squads. Yeah, practice squad's my foot, Crimson Daddy. Look at the guys Michigan's got drafted in the offensive line the last 5 or 6 years, right? They've got starters. They've got 4, 5, 6 starters in the last few seasons in the offense. You've got like a 10 or 11 Michigan offensive linemen just since 2018 that are on NFL rosters now. I would put that up against any program in college football, which I haven't pulled that, but I just can't imagine there's too many programs that have much higher than that. Bosa Forever from Flight Right 49. Charmstead says Michigan is going to be the national champion this year, just like they should have been last year. Thank you, Charisse Armstead. And then Braden says, Michigan, I love Michigan. Thank you so much for watching, Braden. Being a true Michigan fan, certainly love you. Bosa from Brady. If you can, Jack, we have Blue Wolverine in the chat. So why don't we show Blue Wolverine's on the end screen, right? I believe, yeah, that's right. Blue Wolverine, if you're still watching, which I hope you are, go ahead and check out the end screen. This will be on the end of every show this week that we have, and about 2 or 3 shows per week this entire season up in through February of 2024. So as you see, Blue Wolverine, you were number 4 or 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth on the Super Chat leaderboard from the 13-14 live shows we did November through February of last year. And we're going to have way more than that. We'll probably end up doing 40 or 50 shows, live shows this year. Maybe not that many. Maybe like 35 or so. 2 a week, hopefully, from now through February. Guys, we're going to take your questions live on the show. To get in the queue, you've got to use hashtag Michigan. So if it's like, James, question, just add hashtag Michigan to the end, pops to the top of our software to Jack's queue, or you can go and super chat, and we will take your questions live show. I need at least 4 or 5 questions here to start this next portion of the show. Blue Wolverine, yeah, he is Blue Wolverine. He's back and better than ever. Hey, put it on your resume, update the LinkedIn profile, executive producer of the Michigan Football Report, and then the other 30 people who are on there as producers, right? Not a bad thing, but executive is a little bit better than just regular producer. So give me a few questions. Use hashtag Michigan if you guys can. We need 4, 5, 6 questions to get rolling with the show. Sometimes when you do that hashtag Michigan, Jack, it like populates the show name. You ever see that? Nevertheless. So we've got Teresa Flissick, Natty, Ronald Gibbs, not the Bosa brothers, beat Ohio State again. Bosa from Brady, appreciate that. Blue Wolverine, send us your LinkedIn account when you update it. Really appreciate that. Mark with a question coming in, so get the questions rolling. Let's get 3 more questions before we get started with our live Q&A. I think we've got 2 or 3 banked from the last one. Say again. I think Iowa has a shot at PSU before Al gets said. Cool, yeah, maybe we can take that one. Not a bad one. A little Big Ten speculation. If you guys have it, though, also like today's video, as we have got 165 or so people watching, 107 likes. So, not as many people who have liked the video have watched. So, appreciate if you can just hit that like button, put this show into the feeds of more college football and, of course, Michigan football fans. Take a look at the Super Chat menu, as we need 2 more questions to get started. So, Charisse, why don't you just add a hashtag Michigan? Charisse, I'll take the question on the screen. Okay, Zaire, add a hashtag Michigan to that one. Ask it again and add a hashtag Michigan. Would love to answer that one, so we can toss it up at the top of the screen. Braden says, frick Ohio State. I love Michigan, and my name is Braden. So thank you so much, Braden. Big-time Michigan fan. Every 50 likes, which we hit, by the way, Jack. You got to remind me we hit 100 likes, so I'm going to take a sip of the blue Kool-Aid. All right, the blue Kool-Aid is like, the vibes we've got for Michigan, but it's also half vodka, half water, and some blue dye. Blue Wolverine with the $4.99 super chat. Jack, we'll take that in the Q&A part of the show here in a second. We got 111 likes, so make sure you guys are liking the question. Blue Wolverine, $5 more, Blue, and we got you back on the helmet, baby. Sue. So $10 for every single helmet sticker is a $10 super chat, and we'll keep you on that end screen as a producer or executive producer for next season. But the one I just showed, the end screen will be on the entire this entire season up and through signing day on February 7th. Ask you guys this question. Was Ryan Day born on third base, as Jim Harbaugh, very eloquently claimed following the 2021 Michigan-Ohio State game, 42-27. Hassan Haskins, 5 touchdowns. Was he born on third base? Give me a Y or an N in the comments. Make sure we get the comments flowing there. Y or N. Douglas Foster gives a God Y. God, yes. Born on third and running backwards. That's actually a good point. I mean, Ohio State has, I think, upped their recruiting a little bit even after Urban Meyer. But I had this kind of epiphany last night. Ryan Day's Ohio State, to me, and their fan base, not just Ohio State as a program, but like what their fan base cares about, starting to remind me of like the first 5, 6, 7, 8 years of John Calipari at Kentucky. Now, those guys won a national title, which Ohio State hasn't done as Ryan Day goes into his 5th season. But what were they always bragging about? What was Calipari more impressed with, was more braggadocious about? It wasn't Final Fours and national titles. It was always first-round draft picks. We got 4 guys drafted. We got 6 guys drafted. We have had 19 first-rounders in my first 5 seasons here. All that stuff. That reminds me of Ohio State Ryan Day. Wide receivers. We've got Garrett Wilson. We've got this guy. We've got our best wide receiver went to Alabama, and he's the star there. We've got Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Ibuka. Wide receivers. We get the best wide receiver next year. All they seem to care about is the recruiting rankings and the NFL prowess of the wide receivers. Not to mention, you had the best wide receiver group in the history of college football probably in 2021. Still lost to Michigan. Right? Still lost to Michigan. And you know, it's just maybe an equally good one in 2022 with Jackson Smith and Jigba. I know he didn't really play. Marvin Harrison, Emeka Ibuka, Julian Fleming, et cetera, et cetera. What did it get you? What's it going to get you this year? Ohio State, under third baseman, Ryan Day, born on third base. Kind of remind me early John Calipari years, focusing on the wrong things, not titles, but draft picks and recruiting rankings and wide receivers and your wide receivers in the NFL. Woo! That is what it is. Another 5 from Blue Wolverines. So let's get him on the helmet sticker again. Jack, if you want to toss that question up as I get. Jack, why don't you read the question for me as I get Blue Wolverine on the sticker here?
Yeah, here we go. From Blue Wolverine. Honest predictions on Harbaugh for next season. Is he going to the NFL or dismantling the NCAA as we know it in an epic battle? I would love epic battle NCAA, personally.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's tough to say. We're going to answer this question on the as I'm getting you Blue Wolverine. I'm going to get you on the new helmet. This one, we had a Super Chat battle 3 weeks ago, so it's all John Blaze and Josiah Kiter. I haven't seen either one of those guys, but going live at a different time. We got to know when our big dogs are there. But appreciate you with the Super Chat Blue Wolverine. You are back on the helmet. It's really tough to say. Michigan shouldn't be as. I think they're going to be okay in 2024, right? And if Jim Harbaugh thinks like, wow, this is going to be a bad team, maybe it's the right time for him to step away. But I also don't think he wants to go, walking away with his tail between his legs under the cloud of NCAA sanctions, right? Pete Carroll did that. Other college football coaches have done that. I don't think Jim Harbaugh wants that to be his memory at Michigan. But if he beats Ohio State for a 3rd straight year, makes the college football playoff again, makes the national championship game, wins the national championship, could he say, my job here is done? But we saw with Tennessee and their sanctions a couple weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, is the NCAA's power is extremely limited, right? It's not really anything that they don't have subpoena power. And if you've got a legislature like you do in Tennessee, right? Tennessee has what? A Republican-focused government and legislation who just went to their, I don't want to get into politics. Anyways, whatever it is, they have a governor and attorney general who said, no, we're not letting you do this, NCAA. You're overstepping your bounds. And what happened is they said, if you try and put bowl sanctions on this program, we will sue you because you don't have jurisdiction over the student athletes of the state of Tennessee. You're not an official government entity. You don't have subpoena power. And if you do it, we're going to sue you. NCAA backed off. I think if Michigan played hardball, potentially the same things could happen here with Jim Harbaugh and a potential suspension. All right, let's get into the questions. Jack, go on screen for a second really quick. I've had the same person call me 3 times in the last 5 minutes. I just want to send a quick text while we are still live and tell the people what we've got coming up on the show. Guys, keep the live chats bamming. Just give me your BOSAs. Give me your hashtag Michigans in the live chat. Use hashtag Michigan, and we will get you on the show. As producer Jack is going to come on for just a second before we get into the first live Q&A. Use hashtag Michigan. We will get you on the program. Oh, Jack going full screen, huh? All right. Yeah, just put yourself on there if you can, Jack. There you go. Jack's going to take over for one quick second.
All right, gents, here we go. Sorry, I had to get myself on screen. All right, we've talked Michigan football camp already. Latest news and rumors, we got that done. Done. Green check mark. We went over the offensive depth chart, James's offensive depth chart. Next up, we got a live Q&A, and like James talked about, use hashtag Michigan so I can get your questions on screen. I'm looking at them. I can see them. We got Blue Wolverines super chats. We got all that going on. If you want your question on this Q&A or the Q&A we have going on later, make sure that you use hashtag Michigan or super chat. And then, of course, in between those two mailbags, we're going to be talking about Michigan's defensive depth chart and who James thinks is going to start for Michigan on the defensive side this year.
Back before we go to the Q&A, show the hard hat one more time. Make sure you guys are familiar with the hard hat. We mailed out 5 of these at the end of last year. I'm gonna start mailing them out like after every big time Michigan win. I think we're just gonna send them out. So we're gonna pick somebody who was on the hard hat: John Blaze, Charles Kinnebrew, Matthew Spence, Jim Prindle, Backroad Blue again. Who else? Javier Gregson. There's a lot of double people on there. Backroad Blue, as I mentioned. John Blaze all over this bad boy. This is from back on the Jaden Davis commitment one. So got a ton of these. Make sure you guys are getting in the Hard Hat Club, and you'll be part of our end screen in the 2024 off season next fall or next spring all the way through the 2024 season. So make sure you guys are sending in $10 super chats if you want to be a member of our executive producer or our show producers on this channel. All right, we're going to take your questions. So you keep using hashtag Michigan, and we will answer your questions here in the show. We've got 2 audience mailbags coming up here. So use hashtag Michigan, and we'll get you either right now or coming up here in a few moments. Let me know in the comments of the live chat if you have subscribed to our channel. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. For Y, thank you. Throw up the Y. If you're no, I was going to ask you what you're waiting for. Michigan is playing a football game in 18 days as we're filming this live. We're going to put this up on the channel as well later in the week. So it might be 15, 14 days before their first game. And so if you haven't subscribed, you're missing out on daily Michigan football videos inside the program, more news and inside rumors on injuries, depth charts than any other media outlet here covering the Michigan football team. So give me a Y for yes, you have. You're the man, you're awesome, you're the woman. If no, now is the time, youtube.com/Michigan TV. Let's take our first question from Steve Go Blue, a longtime member. I think somewhere on there he's a super chat hard hat guy as well. He said, wouldn't it be better for Michigan to have Harbaugh miss games this season instead of 2024? I saw this one coming earlier. I made sure Jack got it because I think it's such an interesting point. And if you watch the live show, I kind of talked about this a little bit ago, but I think it's such an interesting point to think about why Jim Harbaugh would maybe push this off to 2024. This 2024 team for Michigan could be a complete rebuild, the likes of which we haven't seen in 15 years, maybe since 2000, the 2008 season, right? You could lose 11 starters. If you think about if A.J. Barnes is starting tight end, 5 offensive linemen, there's 6. Diamond Edwards, Blake Corum, there's 8. J.J. McCarthy, Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson. There's 11 starters, right? If you count 2 starting running backs, 2 tight ends, I'm sorry, 1 tight end, A.J. Barner, right? Colson Loveland obviously will be back in 2024. You could be losing 11 starters off this offense, 7 or 8 starters off the defense. A complete rebuild. Could be missing both coordinators. If Jesse Minter gets an NFL DC job, if Sherrod Moore says, hey, now's the time, I got a big-time offer from another Power 5 program, and Michigan will need Harbaugh more than ever. Something feels off about this situation. Either Harbaugh's playing hardball, wants to stick it to the NCAA, or he maybe thinks that this is the last dance and he's going out after this season no matter what the outcome is for Michigan. So I want to know from you guys, give me your one-word reaction to Jim Harbaugh not being suspended in the 2023 season. I'm just saying, wow. Wow is mine because it looked like credible media reports a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, that Harbaugh was going to agree to a 4-game suspension. Now the NCAA's pulling it back. They're putting out ridiculous comments like, oh, it was more than a cheeseburger. It's more than cheeseburgers. There was such outrageous things like a staffer who's not officially a coach helping a college athlete get better as his role as a college football player. Or, oh my gosh, you texted a player when you weren't allowed to. Or, hell, when Corona was going on, you couldn't visit colleges that Michigan Zoomed with players and watched them work out to know if they were Michigan caliber. Such egregious things. I can't even believe it. So, wow. But maybe Jim Harbaugh is just going to stick it to the NCAA and fight this thing as long as he possibly can. Question coming in from youngest Harbaugh. I think it's Jack's little brother. Yoder, let me know the games you think we can lose this season. Maybe your top 5 possible Michigan L's. Hashtag Michigan. We're going to talk about that here in 1 second, youngest Harbaugh. But before we do, I want to make sure you guys know that the Don t-shirt is back and better than ever. Really comfortable t-shirt. It is available at the Chat Sports merch store. Go to chatsports.com/Don7. That's chatsports.com/Don7. Get the Don t-shirt. I'm going to be rocking it, most games this year, either that or my Michigan football one I had last year. So get the Don shirt, $20.07. Chatsports.com/Don7. The link is down in the comments and the description of today's video. Show love for the Don, Donovan Edwards, and it is in the live chat if you're watching here live on Tuesday. As I mentioned, make sure you're using hashtag Michigan, or you can super chat to get your questions on any of our live mailbags that we'll also put on the channel as a segment later on in the week. Let's go back to the question from youngest Harbaugh. Let me know the games you think we can lose this season, maybe your top 5 possible games. Let's take a look at the schedule. Okay, so do I think East Carolina is losable? No. Do I think UNLV is losable? No. Bowling Green? No. Rutgers? No. Nebraska, maybe, right? First year luck, et cetera, with the new head coach. But that game was just announced that it is a day game, big noon college football on September 30th on Fox. I don't think Michigan's losing that game. Had it been night, could have been more like 70-30 Michigan's favor versus, I think, the 90-10 that it'll be as a big noon game. This one, though, I do think is losable. Minnesota, that's a good football team. They're facing some adversity, right? There was this terrible hit piece by the ultra woke AJ Perez from Front Office Sports, who put out maybe one of the weakest hit pieces of all time, where guys from Minnesota, former players, said, we had to do hard work to be college football players. Oh, so shocking, so surprising. So maybe they got a chip on their shoulder. Michigan goes on the road in their 6th game of the year and has to go to Minnesota, a 9-win Minnesota team from last year. That could be a loss. We've seen Jim Harbaugh, 2015. He had to have a miracle to beat Minnesota. I think it's been one of the games in the Harbaugh era where it's been close against Minnesota. Keep an eye out for that one. I think Michigan blows Indiana out at the Big House. And then October 21st at Michigan State. This Michigan State has no business being in the same field with Michigan this year. Michigan is more talented, I think, almost every single position. But think about the years over, just if you're a Michigan football fan for more than a few years, think about 2020. Michigan was a 3-touchdown favorite and lost. How about 2017? Michigan was a 2-touchdown favorite and lost in the monsoon. Think about 2015. You had a win against a top 5 Michigan State team. All you got to do is snap the ball and just throw it if you have to. I don't want to relive that. 2000 and go back to the Lloyd Carr years, right? 2001, the TJ Duck game. So 1999, Nick Saban and Plaxico Burress. There's been so many times that Michigan's had the better team. Jim Harbaugh's done well on the road at Michigan State, right? He's got some wins there, but as a game Michigan could lose. Could you see bad weather, something like that, and Michigan State wins 27-24? Maybe. Not likely, but maybe. Bye in the 28th Halloween weekend. Then Purdue, I think Michigan handles Purdue at home. I don't think that's a chance of losing that game, although that's a team that won the Big Ten West last year. On the road at Penn State. This is one of the most talented Penn State teams we've seen in maybe since 2016 when they won the Big Ten, beat Ohio State. Losable game. Maryland, Ohio State, three last games of the year before the Big Ten Championship, I've got us losing. So these are my 5 possible losses. The biggest obstacles, should be no surprise, but it's Ohio State in order. Penn State, Michigan State, because of the rivalry factor, on the road against Minnesota, on the road against Maryland. Other than Ohio State, those are your 4 road games right there. Penn State, Michigan State, Minnesota, and Maryland, with Michigan having 8 home games. All right, so that is the Michigan football schedule. That is my run of the 5 games they could lose. Make sure you guys are always with me on the Bosa train. Beats Ohio State. Again, if you can, every time you watch one of our show, type in the comments because it's just good juju. It's just good vibes out there. It feels good to say because they've got their Bosa players. It means something. It's kind of like our college football political slogan. Since we launched it, January of 2020, the world's changed in more ways than one, including that Michigan is now going into the 4th college football season since we launched this political college football campaign, have not lost to the Buckeyes. 3 straight seasons they have not lost to Ohio State. Give me a Bosa down in the comments or, of course, in the YouTube live chat. Blue Wolverine, my guy, a member of our executive producers of the show that you're going to see at the end of today's video. So if you want to see me give shout-outs to our 40 biggest Super Chat contributors, wait to the end of today's video. Name your top 3 concerns from Michigan this season as far as position weakness. Well, number 1, it is cornerback 2. Amarian Walker, who a lot of people slated as the other cornerback at the beginning of spring practice coming out of last season, he's hurt. Right, he's been seen at Schembechler Hall and at the Michigan scrimmage multiple times in the past week on crutches. Now, Josh Wallace coming over from UMass helps, but he's never faced the kind of wide receivers that Penn State or Ohio State or Maryland are going to throw at Michigan this year. And Jaden McBurrows, right, he's been on Michigan campus a few years, hasn't really done much of anything. So someone's got to step up, right? Like maybe G-Mon Green did the last season, right? Like DJ Turner did 2 years ago, then turned into kind of more of a star player last year for Michigan. Somebody's got to step up. We know what Will Johnson's bringing to the table. He was injured a little bit, so that's one. I guess, wide receiver, and it's only a concern because you've only got 2 proven players in Cornelius Johnson and Roman Wilson. Cornelius was not at the scrimmage on Saturday. He was held out with an injury. Who else behind him? Tyler Morris, also injured. Samaj Morgan, Fred Moore, these freshmen, Darius Clemens, redshirt freshman, what has he done? There's a lack of depth and really a lack of future at Michigan at the wide receiver role based on past performance that I see potentially being a tough one to come this year. And how about the kicker game, right? They brought over James Turner from Louisville, a multi-year starter at Louisville, but losing Jake Moody, the best kicker in Michigan football history, that's one. We saw him win at least one game last year against Illinois. Prior year, one against Nebraska, last-second touchdown. And, several games, most notably, just Illinois last year, when he's kicked 5 or 6 field goals for Michigan. That is one of the positions that I think Michigan got a good transfer player, but we'll see what he does when he's playing in big-time Big Ten college football. Mark Mechkowski, he says, do you think Iowa, I think that's what he means, has a shot at Penn State early on? So I wanted to glance at Penn State's schedule to make sure. They open up with West Virginia, which I think will be an interesting game on September 2nd again. And Iowa's their 4th game, so it's their 2nd Big Ten game. Penn State's got West Virginia, then Delaware, right, the Michigan of D2, basically with the helmets, and then Illinois, and they play Iowa 7:30 p.m. It's the whiteout at Penn State. Penn State's not been as good under those whiteout conditions as I think people think they have, right? Michigan's beat them there once or twice. Ohio State has as well. I think Auburn may have. No, they beat Auburn, though. Cade McNamara, Eric All, right? That's their starting quarterback, their starting tight end. Iowa's got a really strong defense, so could they have a shot at Penn State before Drew Aller gets settled in? I think they could. I wouldn't be surprised if Iowa went in there with a guy who's gone into that environment in Cade McNamara in 2021. Not only beat Penn State, beat him on a last-minute drive. 1 Eric All on a drag across the center, 5-yard pass, and he took it up 40-some yards for the touchdown. Who's his tight end this year at Iowa? Also Eric All, so I wouldn't be surprised at all. Very good question from Mark, taking a look at the rest of the Big Ten. I want to ask you guys, though, knowing Michigan's schedule that we just put out there, focus just on the 12 regular season games, East Carolina through Ohio State. Don't kind of speculate. Don't try and speculate to the Big Ten championship or the playoff or anything like that. Just the 12 games in the schedule right now. Predict Michigan's regular season record. Last year I said 11-1. I was wrong. I said 7-5 in 2021. Also wrong. So if I want to continue to stay wrong, I maybe should just not make a good prediction. I should be, Michigan's going to be 11-1 again. That's mine. Although I think I might be wrong on that one again if I say 11-1 in a good way for Michigan. Got some 12-0s, 12-0s, 12-0, 12-0 in the live chat. Let me know down in the comments if you're watching this later on demand on this channel. One of our executive producers, Blue Wolverines, has honest predictions on Harbaugh next season. Is he going to the NFL, or is he going to dismantle the NCAA as we know it in an epic battle? That would be nice. Like, Tennessee kind of provided the blueprint a few weeks ago. They were going to get sanctions, more sanctions than they got, and could have included a bowl ban for this year. Their attorney general and their governor basically said to the NCAA, you try and prevent our current student athletes from playing in a bowl game or playing in a college football playoff, we will sue you. You don't have the rights to suspend, to tell our athletes what they can and can't do as far as playing. Only we have the rights to, or the SEC conference has the right to. Could Michigan take a similar stance? I think it'd be pretty interesting. Now, I have speculated that this could be the last dance, right? Think about Jordan, Pippen, Phil Jackson, Dennis Rodman, et cetera, Steve Kerr, the last dance of the Bulls, J.J. McCarthy, Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum, Zach Sinter, Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson. A lot of those same guys. Mike Sainristil for Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, Sharon Moore, Jesse Minter, all those guys I just said. Just think about it. Every one of them could not be a member of this program next year. And frankly, Jim Harbaugh is probably the one who's the most likely to be back with this program next year. But he could decide, hey, I've given this school 9 years. I've won 3 Big Ten championships, beat Ohio State 3 straight years, made 3 straight college football playoffs. Now is the time to do something else. But I've been wrong on both sides of Jim Harbaugh, predictions with his future. So I'll say I'm interested to see how it plays out. I want to ask you guys how likely you are to recommend this show to a friend. We've always thought that the best way to grow our audience organically is to have word of mouth going around you, to your friends, to other Michigan football fans. So let me know down in the comments. Anything lower than a 9, let me know something we can improve. So if you're 8 or 7 or 6 or hell, even 1, what can we do differently to get that ranking up to a 9 or a 10 that you guys absolutely would recommend us to? If you're a 9 and 10, go ahead and send the link to a friend. It's youtube.com/Michigan TV. Tell your friends who are Michigan fans to subscribe to the channel. Douglas Foster coming in the live chat with a 10. Douglas, love you, man. Appreciate that. Make sure to recommend us to a friend. And speaking of Douglas, he's there at 10. He's also here right there on the screen. Do you think we can expect the same or better performance from Blake Corum this year? #Michigan. Now, if Donovan Edwards is healthy the entire year, I don't think you're going to see as many carries for Blake Corum, right? That's a lot of carries for 247 carries for the 11 games he played, over 20 carries a game. And while we're here, Jack, I want to, you can bring me back whenever you want, but I want to talk about the game log last year, because with Donovan Edwards out, remember he got hurt in the Hawaii game, and then he also got hurt later on in the year too, because he missed quite 2-3 games down the stretch. Think about this for Blake Corum. Carries. 2 carries for Corum. Oh, no, sorry, that was Ohio State. So once you get to the 4th game of the year, Maryland, this is carries for Donovan Edwards. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. So 4th game, 30 carries, 29 carries, 25 carries, 28 carries, 33 carries, too many, 28, then 18 in the first half. 18 carries against Illinois. They're completely riding on him, 108 yards. So that's a lot of carries. I hope you take a step back as far as amount of carries he gets. Give Donovan Edwards 12 to 15 carries himself if both guys can stay healthy. I do think, though, with the offensive line, development of the passing game, another level with J.J. McCarthy and the wide receivers, 2 tight ends, that Blake might have more running lanes than he did last year. So you might get up there to the 1,500 carries, but scale back your amount of rushes by 30 or 40 rushes throughout the season. So yes, I think his production will be as good. 18 touchdowns. Look, we saw in the TCU game, Michigan could not score inside the 5-yard line early on in that game, and they had to go to trick plays, the Philly special reverse, handoff to Kalel Mullins, all this crazy stuff, because Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins before him were so much better at getting in the end zone than any other running backs in the team, and that includes Donovan Edwards. Rich P. asking, will Michigan open up the offense through the air even though they will be dominant in the running game with Corum and Edwards? It all depends on Jim Harbaugh. I have been told that Harbaugh and Sharon Moore had a deep dive on what they want this coach and this team, which is to be expected, right? This isn't something new as colleagues, but Harbaugh went back to his times. He said, hey, look at what I did with Andrew Luck at Stanford, right? Coming off Toby Gerhart was my bell cow in 2009. Then 2010, I had Andrew Luck, second year in the program. A lot of skill position players, maybe not as strong at running back. Michigan is still as strong as running back. So it's going to come down to what Jim Harbaugh wants to do if he feels that he can win games and avoid losses through the passing game. I think we saw in the Ohio State game and certainly in the TCU game late that he can trust J.J. McCarthy in the red zone to make plays deep downfield. What also comes to that is the 2 pick sixes that J.J. McCarthy threw against TCU that really were the difference in the game for Michigan, not to mention the 2 times they were inside the 3-yard line and didn't get the touchdown in the first half. I talked to a couple of TCU players. I was at the national title game. We went to media day for Georgia and TCU, and I asked both the players who picked off J.J. McCarthy for those pick sixes, how did you know? Tell me about that play, etc. Funny enough, Jack, I don't know if you remember this. You were standing right next to me. They both said they mailed it by the routes and the lineups, I should say, the formation. The formation that they had We knew exactly the play went to every time we saw that formation. And I didn't really look back at what formation it was, et cetera. But when we saw that formation, all, the last month in film, they ran this play. So the second I saw that guy line up there, I knew they were going to go this short play here. I knew they were going to go that pass there, jump the route, take it back to a touchdown. That has got to be what Michigan avoided this year. Matt Weiss was the guy as running the offense inside the 20. Michigan's passing game inside the 20 the first 10 games of the year last year. Absolutely embarrassing. Let's see if they can do it this year through the air once you get inside of the 20-yard line. I asked this in the live show a few minutes ago, but I'm going to ask you one more time. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel yet? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. If you watch this on demand, let me know down in the comments. Have you subscribed to our channel? Now is the time. We will have a live show, or not a live show, a show on the channel and weekly, if not twice weekly, lives from now through February 7th. This is going to be a huge year for Michigan. You do not want to miss out on the Michigan Football Report, daily Michigan football videos from myself and young Harbaugh, Jack Latteray. Give me a Y for a yes or an N for no. All right, we have got through live audience Q&A number 1 as we are rounding 95 minutes live on the show. I'm going to take a little sip of this blue Kool-Aid. Tell about Michigan's stacked defense coming up next. A little water, a little vodka, a little water. The what? Oh, yes, that's right. So let's take a look. So, Jack, put my Twitter account up there. I'm going to put it in there. I made this promise earlier. I've only got a couple followers. I'll follow you guys back. Next 10 people to follow me at all, today or tomorrow, whenever. But follow me on Twitter. It's at James Yoder. I will follow you back. If you care about that. If you don't, that's fine too. But that's my promise now. Sometimes people like getting a little fall back. I'm going to put a little jacket on. We've got the AC blasting up in this piece. So I'm going to put on my beautiful Michigan football Nike jacket. People ask me all the time, Jack, where'd you get this jacket? Where'd you get this jacket? I've had it for 5 seasons now, 18, 19, 20, 20. This will be 6 seasons. This will be the 6th season. I don't remember where it was bought, and I've tried to find it. It was a gift from, I believe, my mother-in-law, and she's no longer with us, so I can't ask her. Rest in peace. So that is that. So people, I really like this jacket. It's super flexible. It feels like a track jacket, but it's kind of like, I don't know, spandexy. It's pretty awesome. Follow me on Twitter. I will follow back the next 10 people who follow me from the time we started the show. Jason just followed. So, Jason, I got you back. My man, I'm going to follow you. And Rachit Dewan, I saw him in there too. Rachit Dewan too. Rodney Thompson as well. So thank you guys both for the follows. And Jason, okay, there we go. Jason, follow back him. If I missed you there, I got 3 followers just in a blast there, but I will get back to that here in a second. Want to know from you guys, give me a yes or no, what you think we should do. But Jack and I are considered doing watch parties, right? What's a watch party? We've got 30 plus YouTube channels here at Chat Sports, right? Majority NFL. College, majority NFL. But what they do is preseason, regular season games, they go live 30 minutes before the game, right? They've got a fully produced show, but for the most part, they just do play-by-play and take questions and reactions for the entire 3+ hour game, then do a post-game show right there, right? Now, we don't show the game because that would be copyright infringement, so you can watch the game on there. Should we do watch parties where I have a camera on me the entire time, and you can see me being like, no, JJ, not the football, or so it's all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm sure someone will cut things and embarrass me one day if I do it. But we got some yeses coming out in the chat there, Jack. So it sounds like the people may be interested in it. I got to get this fan off me. Here we go. So it's got some yeses, et cetera, exactly, with 2 G's, Kent. Egg, cetera, is how we pronounce it. So I think we'll do them, Jack. We'll do one for the first game. East Carolina, what time is that? I can't remember. Is it a 12 o'clock game or 1:30? So first game for Michigan is September 2nd at the Big House, East Carolina. It is on the Peacock network. A lot of people aren't going to be able to watch Peacock. They want to pay for it. So cool. We'll walk you through the game, right? Think of us as your radio broadcast if you can't watch the game yourself on the Peacock, or who the hell knows who's going to be the Peacock broadcasters. You want to listen to us ourselves. So we'll be live for sure on September 2nd. Jack, could we figure out what time that was? First game? Now, Jack, you got to do me. Do one at the stadium. Well, Mike, have you ever been to Michigan Stadium? Because, what? So it's a noon game for Michigan, so we'll be live probably 30, 45 minutes prior to the game for a pregame show. Mike Tirico is reporting that game as well, so maybe Mike Tirico probably probably one of the top 5, play-by-play announcer guys in history. So that's interesting. But that one's on the cock. And I think we will. So Mike K, I know the service sucks. You can't even get a text message out, let alone streaming anything from Michigan Stadium with or without Wi-Fi. Jack, remind me before the season starts, we got to do the annual Wi-Fi rant, right? Okay. I went viral 2 years ago, Jack. I think right when he started, because I said you could get a hostel in Afghanistan right now and get Wi-Fi, but not at Michigan Stadium. All right, are we ready for the defensive depth chart? I am ready to jump into the Michigan football defensive depth chart after a little over 2 weeks of fall camp. Let's get this bad boy rolling as Michigan's projected defensive depth chart headed into the first game against East Carolina. This is my projected Michigan football depth chart for game 1. A lot of this could change throughout the season, right? Every single year for this program, hell, for any football program, the depth chart changes from 1 week to 2 weeks to 6 weeks to 10 weeks. But this is where after 8, 9, 10 practices, a full padded scrimmage, that I believe the depth chart shakes out right now, or will be at going into that first game. A lot of things will change, but this is getting the snaps now, and based on what I've been told, this is what it'll look like going into week 1. I ask you guys again to follow me on Twitter. It's going to be a big emphasis of focus for us. We're going to do a lot of stuff on YouTube, of course, this year, but we will start doing weekly Twitter Spaces. I'm putting out all the Michigan highlights. Even though we're going to be live during some shows, I'm going to be putting all the highlights, every single touchdown on my Twitter account. So go ahead and follow me on Twitter. As I mentioned, I will follow back the next 10 people to follow me on Twitter. It is at James Yoder. Give me a follow right now. Let's take a look at the starting defensive and edge depth chart for this number 2 ranked Michigan football team. A little bit of a surprise for some people. Right, here are my 4 starters. Braden McGregor and Jalen Harrell on the outside. Harrell, a returning starter. On the inside, Chris Jenkins started last year with Mozzie Smith. And then Mason Graham will kind of fill that inside role with him. Behind those guys, Derek Moore, Rayshon, Trap Money Benny, Kenneth Grant, the sophomore who Jim Harbaugh called a gift from the football gods last year. And then Sackmaster himself from Coastal Carolina, Josiah Stewart, although I do think Michigan with Moore, Stewart, Harrell, and McGregor have 4 starter-level edge guys. But the guy I want to focus on here is Chris Jenkins. Chris Jenkins, in my opinion, is going to have one of the better seasons from a Michigan interior defensive lineman in the past 20 years, right? He only had 2 sacks last year. Quarterback hurries. He was just a mover of men, though, on the interior. Was a big reason that Michigan's had so much success on the edge the last couple of years. Aiden Hutchinson, David Ojabo, Mike Morris, etc., etc. If he has a season that we're expecting, he's in his best shape of life season, right? He is a leader on the field. I expect him to potentially be a captain when Michigan announces him here in the next 2 weeks or so. I think Chris Jenkins, he's not a pure athletic freak, but if he has the type of season that we expect, he could be a top 5 pick. Mozzie Smith was a top, first round pick. I think Chris Jenkins is going to have a better season than him. I think he's going to test better than Mozzie Smith did at the combine. And a few things, maybe not the bench press, but a few of the agility and the jumping and the running, I think he'll test better than Mozzie Smith. If he has this kind of season that we expect, top 5 pick, maybe. Top 15, I'm going to put my money. I'm going to stamp that one. I think that is a big time possibility. Let me know what you guys think on Michigan football. Will they win over or under 10.5 games this season? All right, you'd be like, James, come on. That's crazy. The question should only be undefeated or not. The reason I say 10.5 is because that's what BetUS, our sportsbook partner, put as the season over-under for this team. You can go bet that one. If you think Michigan's going to go 12-0, 11-1 even, go bet it with BetUS. Get a 125% deposit bonus when you sign up and make your first deposit. You put in 100, get an extra 125. You put in 200, an extra 250. 300, 475 in bonus money to bet. Put $100 on Michigan winning 11+ games. You get your 100 back. You win $125. That seems like free money to me. Because if Michigan loses 2 games this regular season, bad news. Bad news for this program. Risk $100, put on Michigan winning 11+ over that 10.5 number. You win $125. The link is in the live chat, or go to chatsports.com/GoBlue anytime. Use that promo code GoBlue, 125% deposit bonus. We're talking about the defense, the defensive depth chart. I find this interesting. Is Jim Harbaugh, in an era where he has been known to be one of the better defensive head coaches in all of college football, is that the offense actually had better stats in a few different marks last year. Most notably, this offense from Michigan's offense was higher ranked, sixth in the country, than the defense in scoring last year. Michigan giving up 16 points a game to the 40 that they scored. Now, on the other side of the ball, the defense was better at basically everything else for the most part outside of forcing turnovers. Michigan didn't give the turn the ball over that much, but they didn't get a ton of turnovers either. This was the number 6 defense in all of college football last season. I think it has the potential to be one of the top 2 or 3 in all of college football again this season. I think some of the better defenses in college football will be right there in the Big Ten. Iowa, Penn State, even Ohio State. I know, but they've got talent all across the board year 2 with their DC. Then you got Georgia, probably Alabama. They've got 3-4 guys in that team that are going to be first-round picks on that defense. But Michigan should have a top 5 defense in almost all those categories as we see. Make sure, if you guys haven't yet, subscribe to the Michigan Football Report. We are doing weekly live shows. We're going to take you inside fall camp. We're going to have a show every single day between now, August 15th, and you might be watching this, maybe August 19th, 20th. We're going to put this segment out later on the week in the channel. We're going to have a new show every single day from now through February 7th. So make sure you guys subscribe today, youtube.com/MichiganTV. Take a look at the depth chart from linebacker. Junior Colson and Mike Barrett, I've got them eking out those starting roles because I think sophomore Jimmy Roller, who came on at times last year, and then Ernest Hausman started 7 games, had a sack against Michigan last year. He's going to be in there. But much like the defensive end position, I think this is a role in linebacker. They're going to see 4 guys interchange as starters basically the entire season until 1 or 2 of them prove themselves, which they may never do, as being the better of these players. So keep an eye out for that one. I'll talk more about Colson and Mike Barrett here in a second. But let's go back in history. Jabril Peppers, Devin Bush. Which one of these guys has been the best linebacker in Jim Harbaugh's tenure as Michigan's head football coach? If you remember, Jabril Peppers was a Heisman finalist in 2016. Devin Bush, the star of this team in 2017 and 2018, first-team All-American, top 15 pick in the NFL draft. Peppers was also a first-round pick in the NFL draft. But that Heisman thing was based a little bit more on the punt returns and scoring a touchdown or 2 on offense from that wildcat position. Give me a JP for Jabril Peppers. Just focus on linebacker. JP for Peppers, or Devin Bush, give me a DB. These are the guys I've got as the starters last year, and it's basically every position for Michigan. But look at the sheer amount of production Michigan's got coming back at this linebacker position. You've got 173 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, coming back at your starting linebackers. Then you've got a guy, Jimmy Roller, who a lot of people think could start for 120 to 129 teams in D1. And you've got Ernest Hausman, who was a starter for Nebraska last season. So interesting to think about. This linebacker group is going to be absolutely stacked. Colson, 3rd year. He might go to the NFL for this year. Might be a first-round pick. Mike Barrett come back for a 6th year. And then Jimmy Roller and Ernest Hausman. Those 2 guys, if Barrett and Colson go pro, which I expect them both to, of course, Roller and Hausman will be your starters in 2024. And I don't expect much of a drop-off at all from those players. Heading over to the secondary, and this is where it gets a little bit interesting, right? Because a lot of these guys could be gone next year. Of course, we know that Will Johnson will have to return in 2024. Josh Wallace could leave. Mike Sanderstill, he'll be gone. Makari Page, Rod Moore, they could potentially both go to the pros, although they could return for 2024. Behind them, I have Zeke Berry as the strong safety. He's making a big push. Frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if Zeke Berry, going into 2nd year in this Michigan football program, if at some point throughout this season pulls a Makari Page and beats out Page for the starting role, just like Page did to R.J. Moten down the back half of last season. But I want to focus here on Josh Wallace. If Michigan's going to a national championship this year, Josh Wallace has to play at Gemon Green or DJ Turner level. He's got to be able to go up against wide receivers that, frankly, probably smoked him in past years, right? When he was going up against schools from the ACC or the SEC or the Big Ten, bigger schools. UMass's team hasn't been that great, even with him as a starter. He has got to take the coaching from Steve Klinkscale and the Michigan defensive coaching staff and raise his game. If he plays at DJ Turner or Gemon Green levels, which is like maybe the 10th best cornerback in the Big Ten, this Michigan team might be unstoppable. On the other side of the corner, Will Johnson. I expect him to be a first-team All-American this year. I don't know if you guys remember. Pro Football Focus, and they put out some crazy stuff sometimes, but after last season, they did a all-player draft, all classes. You didn't have to be eligible for the draft going into 2024. They had Will Johnson as a top 10 pick after his true freshman year, in which he only started 5 or 6 games. A top 10 pick if he would have been eligible for the draft this year. I see him being a 2-time first-team All-American 2023 and 2024. I think when we look back 2-3 years from now, we might say Will Johnson, only second to Charles Woodson, as the best, not just cornerback, best defender in the history of this program. How about the special teams? James Turner might not be a guy you've even heard of or even paid attention to, but he was the starting kicker for Louisville the last couple of seasons. Pretty good, right? Not perfect, not Jake Moody stats, but 47 of 59 in his career, mostly with the last 2 seasons, a long of 50, so okay, he can get some distance on it, making 80% of his field goals. Transferring from Louisville, their starter is now Michigan starter, fills a big-time gap, but I still think it's going to be a drop-off of what Michigan saw on Jake Moody. But by the way, you see Jake Moody the other night, Jack? Woo. Man, he shanked his 2 field goal attempts for the 49ers. Tommy Doman's going to be your punter. He would have been your punter and your kicker if not for Turner transferring over from the portal from Louisville. And I've got Rowan Wilson as your primary kick returner and punt returner, which is kind of scary because could find himself in a situation where he gets injured on one of those. Behind him, at kick returner, next to him, I'm going Tyler Morris. Really interested to see if any other younger players, Samaj Morgan or any of the younger wide receivers or running backs emerge. Cole Cabana at either kick returner or punt returner as this season goes on. I want to remind you one more time that I'm going to follow back the next 10 people who follow me on Twitter. It is at James Yoder. Let's make it happen. Follow me on Twitter. I'm going to be tweeting out all season long, and this, the YouTube channel is going to be lit on game day, so my Twitter account will have every single highlight. Help me fight back against the Michigan State, Ohio State trolls who are always my mention. Give me a follow at James Yoder. Let's recap this depth chart. Braden McGregor, Chris Jenkins, Mason Graham, and Jalen Harrell are my starters along the defensive line, with Derek Moore and Josiah Stewart also on the outside as kind of quasi starters, but really they're in the 2 deep, but they are technically the backups. They'll get a ton of go for this team. Rayshon, Trap Money Benny, and Kenneth Grant. Just basically, this defensive line is set for the next 2 or 3 seasons, no matter what, which of these players sticks around or goes after the 2023 season. Same can be said for linebacker. I've got Junior Colson and Mike Barrett. Jimmy Roller and Ernest Hausman will be all kinds of playing rotation this season. They'll be in there a ton. They'll get a ton of snaps, and they will be your starters, Hausman and Roller, in the 2024 season, assuming that Junior Colson leaves after this year, his true junior season. Going over to the secondary. This can and probably should be one of the top 2 or 3 secondaries in all of college football. 4 returning starters, Makari Page, Rod Moore, Will Johnson, and then Mike Sainristil. Transfer to your starter from UMass, Josh Wallace coming over. Other guys to think about at that cornerback too, Jaden McBurrows, Amarian Walker, been hurt recently, so we'll see how it shakes out. Zeke Berry might be the 4th or 5th best player in the secondary right now. He's trying to disrupt one of those safety positions, potentially that Makari Page strong safety role, just like Page did to RJ Moten last year. Stole the job by midseason, and Moten ended up transferring to Florida. There's a lot of people talking that Zeke Berry could do the same thing to Makari Page. Special teams, James Turner, 2-year starter at Louisville. Tommy Doman getting his first run now as Michigan's punter. And then as of right now, and this could change, I've got Roman Wilson being the main guy as both the kick returner and punt returner, with Tyler Morris, who he himself has been injured recently, as your primary backup, potentially at both positions. We got one more portion of the show as we've been live for nearly 2 hours. What's that? Who's in the chat? Who we got? John Blaze! There he is! My guy, John. I'm going to show you this, John. You know how long it took me to put these on here? From our show a couple of weeks ago where you and our guy, Josiah Kiter. This is just, this entire helmet, John, is you and Josiah, right? This one. John, Blaze, Josiah. Oh, and that's just not the only thing, right? It's also pretty much, where's the other one? I didn't want it to be all one helmet, so basically this helmet, half of it is also you guys. Josiah, John Blaze, Josiah, John Blaze. My guy, he's on Twitter at John Blaze Wolver, Wolver, John Blaze Wolver. Give him a follow on Twitter. What's that, Jack? Show the video. John we're rolling this out today, so every end screen of every video this week, and then 2 or 3, maybe 3 per week this entire season through February and March of this year, you are on the end screen. Jack, roll the footage. Here is our top contributors to the show. We're calling the executive producers and the producers from the 2022 Michigan football live season on this show. There you go, John Blaze, our number 1 all-time Super Chat leader since we rolled it out in November. John, love you, man. Really appreciate it. You're legendary around here at the Michigan Football Report, and that was our all-time leaderboard. So that, guys, if you want to get on your name on the show or on the hard helmet, every $10, make sure you're a producer, and our top 10 contributors from this season, they will remain executive producers, get some love almost every show, but of course at the end of 3-4 videos per week. That'll be on the end of every single video this week up until our next live show. We'll have it either Tuesday or Wednesday next week. I don't think we've decided next week. But during the season, we are going to be live every Wednesday. I haven't decided if it's going to be like this early afternoon or later in the evening. We're going to let you guys depend. I might put a poll up on YouTube. Oh, gosh. John Blaze Wolverine with $100 Super Chat. Bam! 100. Impressive. Go Blue. John, my man. Look at him. He's in the chat for 2 minutes. He's already throwing a $100 Super Chat. I'm going to get one now for him, Jack. I get one now, and John, you have 10 more of these coming up on the helmet. Man, Josiah's going to be like, what did I miss on Tuesday? John Blaze is coming in, baby. Coming in hot. What's the 8:15? John with 100. My man. Woo! John, what games are you going to this year? Are you going to any games at home? I'm going to a road game. I'm going to go to the Michigan-Minnesota game. Haven't decided on what else I'm going to do here yet. I'm really dedicated, and John, I got you in the helmet again. You're the man. I haven't really figured out if I can give up the show. I want to do post-game shows. I want to be watching the game, be able to take it all in and give expert analysis. I just don't think you can do that going as members of media or as a fan. I think it's just not possible. So we'll see. Do we hit, Jack, what's our number? We haven't hit 250, I doubt, right? Cool. So we don't have to shotgun a beer just yet. Oh, all right. We got a wheel spin. As we're going to take your questions, use hashtag Michigan. Go ahead and spin that wheel, Jack. Oh, that's what I thought. All right, go. Hail to the victors valiant, hail to the conquering heroes, hail, hail to Michigan, the leaders and best. Hail to the victors valiant, hail to the conquering heroes, hail, hail to Michigan, the champions of the West. Go Blue! All right, round of applause, the office. Thank you, our studio audience. Thank you, appreciate that. So hit the wheel spin. John Blaze with the 100 Super Chat. Why don't we do one more wheel spin, because I think we definitely owe one more than one because of the 100 coming in. As John's going to get himself 10 of these bad boys. Make sure we're doing that. We'll do one more wheel spin, and then we'll get into another live Q&A. Use hashtag Michigan. Michigan memories. Okay, let's see. I don't know if I didn't really think of any ones. What ones have I told recently? I want to think of a good one. Michigan memories. I don't want to sit here and think. Let's just roll the thing one more time, because I usually have one or two thinking, and I don't want people to think I'm just a bum not being able to remember one off the top of my head. Because I have to have a good story for these Michigan memories. So we'll do one in the next show, Jack. I'll just have to think about it, as I gave no spin again. Okay. I didn't really think about. Oh. Yodeling Yoder. Yole, 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 yee-hoo. There we go. Yodeling Yoder. All right, John with the $100, our executive producer and MVP of the 2022 season and the big-time leader in the 2023 season. Sharice Armstead, Michigan is awesome. Ohio State sucks. Thank you so much for doing that. So make sure you guys are using, look, I'll show you how to do it in the chat right now. Yeah, there's a mute question. Just use a hashtag Michigan and put your question, and you will go to the top of producer Jack's queue, and we'll get you on the show. That or a super chat, and you are getting the ball rolling here on the Michigan Football Report. All right, Jack, are we ready to jump into the last portion of today's show, which is our second audience mailbag? We good? We're good. All right, let's get started. Michigan Football Mailbag number 2. Use hashtag Michigans or super chat to get your questions answered live. All right, we are 24 of 25 on this in regular season and Big Ten championship games, which is like the video if you'd like Michigan to win the game on Saturday. So we're going to switch it up a little bit this year. Switch it up a little bit. It's not just a game. If you want Michigan to go undefeated, like today's video. Now, great thing about YouTube is they're up in their game with the reporting. I know I'll get a list of every single person who watched, and I'll be able to compare it or put in Excel, cross-reference. So if you don't like the video, Michigan loses the game, you are on my hit list, just so you know. So like the video, don't jinx it. Do not jinx it. Like the video, Michigan will then go undefeated. The Michigan Football Report is presented by Manscaped. My entire bathroom is covered in Manscaped. I shave my face with their beard trimmer. I shave down below. I use their shampoo, their conditioner, etc., etc. Get your male grooming needs from Manscaped. Get 20% off. Promo code GOBLUE, no spaces, at manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping. Promo code GOBLUE. Today's show presented by Manscaped. First question coming in from Sloppy T. Are you a sloppy kind of guy? I guess he is to have that name. What did Donovan Edwards mean by "I'm a slot receiver" in that interview last week? And so, if you guys saw, I put on Twitter, probably tossed this question to the top of this segment of the show, is I want to address that. So if you saw last week, Donovan did a interview with, I can't remember who it was, Pro Football Focus or something like that. And they just asked him, and he made a lot of boisterous claims, like he wants to be one of the great running backs in NFL history, Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton, etc. But he also said he could be the best wide receiver, slot wide receiver in college football if he focuses on that part of his game, which he is this year. Edwards is going to be an X factor this year. I think there is a very strong possibility that Donovan Edwards could lead this team in receptions. I don't think it's going to be a huge number. It's not going to get 90 or 100 receptions. 40, 45? Right, that would have led Michigan last year. I think that's possible with Donovan Edwards. He will be on the field with Blake Corum 12 to 15 snaps a game, I believe. At least later in the season when the games are a little more close, first 5-6 games, you know. But Donovan Edwards could be an X factor. He wants to be a guy who gets paid in the NFL, who's not just a running back who just carries 21 times, and then by the time he's going for a second contract at 26 years old, they're like, well, yeah, we're going to cut you just like Dalvin Cook, right? Just got cut, one of the best 5 or 6 running backs in the NFL. Donovan Edwards does not want to be that kind of back. He wants to be able to catch the ball. Michigan is going to use him and Colson Loveland in 2 tight end sets and then 2 running back sets a ton as the technical 1B backups to those positions. I think Donovan Edwards could be poised for a 40-plus catch season, and he's certainly practicing it, and he is pushing Michigan coaches to get him involved as much as possible in the passing game. Mike K says, who do you think Michigan beats to get win number 1,000? Well, I guess it's going to be the second last game of the year, which is Maryland, right? Maryland? Yeah. Yeah, so it's Maryland is the second last game of the year, I think, right? Or is it Indiana? Just take a look at the schedule. Pull up that last 5 games if you can. There you go, Jack. So Maryland, right? Because the Michigan's 11 games right now. Now, someone could say, well, what they should do is lose a game so you can get it at home against Ohio State. Yeah, that'd be nice. And if they did lose a game, like let's say Penn State or Minnesota, that'd be pretty cool to get that 1,000th win, the first team in college football history to get 1,000 wins. But I'm going to say that they're going to be 11-0 with a second straight year after their 11th game, going to that Ohio State game with undefeated record and going for another undefeated regular season. Thanks for the question, Mike K. Mark Michkowski, longtime viewer, hard hat member as well. Will the Don throw a TD out of the Wildcat? Certainly hope so. I have not heard it being practiced that much so far this year. I've got a lot of intel that Michigan's running 2 tight end sets with a close tight end like A.J. Barner and a wide slot tight end like Colson Loveland for 2 running back sets with 1 guy going out for passes, all that different stuff. Haven't heard much about trick plays with either Jalen Harrell or Donovan Edwards, but he certainly can do it like we saw to Roman Wilson in the 2021 Big Ten Championship game. Guys, if you didn't know, I use Manscaped for all of my male grooming needs. I want to make sure you guys have this offer, 20% off and free shipping. The Manscaped lineup of products is second to none. And with the summer here in full swing, I'll take a second to talk about self-care. When it comes to making an impression, proper grooming is essential to looking and feeling your best when you walk in a room. That's why our sponsors, Manscaped, are committed to helping men around the world walk and talk with some swagger, just like Michigan's football team is going to this year. This summer with the best grooming tools on the market. For the sleekest version of yourself, Manscaped has you covered from head to toe, starting with their brand new beard hedge trimmer. With one guard and 20 adjustable lengths, this device is the perfect travel companion, fit to take care of your mane wherever you are. 8 million men worldwide trust Manscaped, and we want you to be one of them as well. With this offer, 20% off and free shipping. Thank you so much to Manscaped for supporting the Michigan Football Report for our third straight year. Support us by supporting Manscaped. Make sure you use that promo code GOBLUE, no spaces, 20% off and free shipping. You don't want to be a caveman, right? You don't want something happening down below the belt and the person in your life being like, whoa, what's going on down there, right? Clean up, use Manscaped. They've got the stuff that you need in the bathroom, the best male grooming products on the market. Don't neglect your beautiful self. Get right this summer with Manscaped. Manscaped.com. Use promo code GOBLUE. How excited are you guys for the future of Michigan football? Scale of 1 to 10. If it's 2023, I'm like a 10.5, right? I'm over a 10. After that, I don't know. I mean, it maybe depends on Jim Harbaugh's future, right? We've been burned with coaching changes as Michigan fans, right? Rich Rodriguez, Brady Hoke. It felt good for a year and a half, and then Jim Harbaugh started off great, had a big lull in the middle, and then has now even gone better than great these past two seasons and now this one. So I'm going to go like an 8.5 because if Harbaugh leaves the program, you never know what you're going to get, right? Are you going to get a big-time coach like a Jim Harbaugh to come? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. Will it be a Sharon Moore or a Mike Hart or a Jesse Minter or a Steve Klinkscale, some assistant with no head coaching experience? Potentially more likely. And when that happens, who knows what the outcome is there. We've seen a lot of programs, right? Oklahoma and Ohio State and LSU go to the playoff with like an interim coach or a promoted assistant that takes them to that next level. But I haven't seen necessarily anything that says that Michigan's going to fall in line. So let me know how you guys are thinking 1 to 10 on the scale of how excited you are for the future of Michigan football. We had a $2 super chat coming in from Blue Wolverine, one of our executive producers of the show. Check out the end screen on today's show for what I mean by that. Thoughts on games only on Peacock? I think it sucks. I think it's stupid. I don't know why Michigan would, the Big Ten would agree to this unless it was, such a big amount of money. I don't know. Some people said, well, Peacock's got a really good streaming service, et cetera, and it's cheap. It's only like $6 a month. Okay, but what has made football the sport that it's become today, the NFL and college football? In my opinion, the reason football has been so popular is that you can watch almost any team and get a similar experience. Right? You watch baseball, you watch basketball, you may get completely different viewing experiences on whether it's a college or an NBA, a good team, a bad team. Football's football. And the other thing about that is it's always on TV. No one who's not a Michigan football fan is going to go watch this game on Peacock rather than just turning on ESPN or CBS or Fox and watching a game that's readily available for free or part of their regular cable package. So I think it stinks. I think teams that are on these streaming services, Peacock or Amazon or anything else like that, they're going to see a big decrease in their audience and their conversation around the country with regards to that game. I think it stinks. So I hope it's just this one game, and I hope going forward it's not more than one game in any given season. Jay Floyo 11, Ewers and Manning transferring. Who you got? Well, I don't think it'll be either one of them because I think Arch Manning doesn't expect to be the starter this year, although they're letting him compete. And if Quinn Ewers has a good season, he's been trying to get to the NFL and get paid since he was a junior in high school. And if that's the case, he'll start this year. No matter what happens, Arch Manning will be the starter next year. So I don't think either one of them actually transfers. They're both in the roster this year. Now, if Quinn Ewers decides not to go pro after this year, maybe Arch Manning transfers somewhere else, right? Tennessee or Ole Miss or hell, even Alabama. Hell, even Michigan, right? But as of now, I don't think either one of them and how it plays out. Quinn Ewers goes to the NFL after this year. Arch Manning is a starter for the next 2 seasons at least. If you love Michigan football, I got the thing for you. It's Michigan Football Report. So subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button right below the video. You will get daily videos now for the next 6 months, every single day, plus 1 or 2 live shows every single week. the most Michigan football content in video form anywhere on the internet. If you love Michigan football, subscribe to the channel. You will not regret it. Money back guaranteed. Is Jaden Davis the next big thing after the 2023 season? To be determined. I don't want him to come in and be tasked with being the starting quarterback as a true freshman in 2024. And it's setting up a recipe for maybe disaster with how many starters Michigan, 16, 17, 18 starters leaving after this season. Pairing that with a true freshman quarterback and maybe a first-time defensive coordinator and maybe a new offensive coordinator, hell, maybe a new head coach. I would like to see him and maybe Bryce Underwood battle out in 25 and 26. The best thing for Michigan in 2024 from a quarterback perspective is that J.J. McCarthy decides to stay, right? Maybe he's not projected as a first-round pick. He stays another year. Boom. Michigan is a contender with J.J. McCarthy as quarterback no matter what the rest of the roster looks like. Or someone like Arch Manning, right? Sit in the bench for another year. Decides, hey, I want to be the starting quarterback in Michigan. I can walk right in there because it's just a freshman in Jaden Davis or a guy like Davis Warren who I don't think is ready to be a championship-level starting quarterback, doesn't have that talent. Nice backup, nice third stringer. After this season, I hope it's not Jaden Davis, but 25, 26? See how things shake out. Let me know what you guys think about J.J. McCarthy this season, though. Over or under? Give me an over or under. Just comment it or put it in the live chat. 3,000 passing yards. Only 3 quarterbacks, 3, in Michigan football history. John Navarre, Shea Patterson, Jake Rudock. 2003, 2015, 2019 have thrown for 3,000 yards in a season for Michigan at the quarterback position. I think J.J. McCarthy could do it this year, of course. I think he could break their record of like 3,300 yards by Navarre in that 2003 season. And let me know what you guys think. Over or under in the comments. Another question coming in from Mark Mechkowski. Our core knee reports indicative that he is not fully healed. 98% in August versus predicted 100% in June. I don't know. That's a good question. Michigan's kept his health and Will Johnson's health wildly under wraps. There's been no information that's leaked out. I've been badgering parents of players on the team, staffers, etc. No one has given any information on Blake other than he'll be good to go. Now, good thing for Michigan is he can rest. He doesn't have to play a bunch in those first 4, 5, 6 games. Donovan Edwards can take the full. Michigan could be a bigger of a passing team in those first 3 or 4 games. But you always got to be concerned, right? Blake Corum was hurt in 2021. Blake Corum was hurt in 2022. It's a big-time knee surgery, right? Knee injury that he tried to play on. That's one of those injuries that, I hate to see him come back too early and, go out of a game limping and all of a sudden you're like, well, he's got to get a minor knee surgery. He's out the next 4 to 6 weeks. So if it comes down to, hey, he needs a little more time, I would just have Michigan just sit him the first 3, 4, 5 weeks of the season so he's ready to go against Penn State, Ohio State, college football playoff, national championship game, going from there. But they've kept it very under wraps for whatever reason. Hell, they did it last year. I mean, he had a terrible knee injury, and he still went out there and suited up against Ohio State. So we'll see how things shake out for Blake Corum. Any words on who the captains are this year? Not yet, but I can speculate with some pretty good insight in who the captains will be on this team. I think almost assuredly Chris Jenkins and Mike Sainristil will be your captains in the defense. I'm guessing on the offensive side of the ball, they'll have 2 or 3 captains as well. I see no reason why it's not going to be senior Zach Zinter as one of the captains. And I would expect it to be J.J. McCarthy because he's the quarterback, but you never know. Not always, juniors and underclassmen quarterbacks don't always get the nod. If not him, I could see it be Cornelius Johnson. I could also see have it being Trevor Keegan as well. So I think those 3, Chris Jenkins, Mike Sainristil, and Zach Zinter, are 3 to book. Those are locked in. Whether Michigan's 1 or 2 other ones, I know we'll find out here probably in about the next week or so. Usually Michigan does their announcements about 10 or so days, it seems, before the season gets started. Imagine Michigan needs a score to win a game. They're down 4. They need a touchdown. Which one of these guys are you taking to be your quarterback? J.J. McCarthy, who's only done it once, right? Illinois game. Let him down for a field goal to win the game. And then Denard Robinson, who did it like 5 or 6 times, right? Game-winning drives. Indiana, Notre Dame, Indiana again, a couple other games out there. Which one would you take? Need a score to win? J.J. McCarthy or Denard Robinson? Look, I'm just saying J.J. McCarthy because of his ability to throw the ball with his arm, with accuracy, and still got the legs. Not nearly Denard's legs, but still can make a lot of plays with his legs. I'm going J.J. Let me know what you guys think, J.J. or Denard Robinson. Netmeg was at the 1969 Michigan-Ohio State game. Longtime viewer of the show, thank you so much for coming back and watching with us today. I would like to know the behind-the-scenes, what's that say, machinations that led to Harbaugh's non-suspension. So I speculated a little bit in the earlier in the live show. From what I understand since Saturday, these are secondhand conversations. I don't have any true direct knowledge. As you can imagine, Michigan is being super tight-lipped this offseason, this training camp, and I'm not sure why, even more than they have in the past. But it sounds like Harbaugh, through his agent or his lawyer, Tom Mars, or Michigan, and the NCAA, it kind of gone from like a season suspension to 6 games to, okay, maybe 4 games. But then the NCAA is like, well, 4 games, but we want you to admit. And Harbaugh's like, well, I'm not going to admit. And it's like, well, maybe I admit something, but I want it 2 games or 3 games or even 1 game. And the NCAA is like, well, that wasn't the agreement that we had a couple weeks ago. Why you can't go back on that? And Harbaugh's like, well, that's what we're doing. I'm not admitting to it. So it's like a plea agreement in the legal system. Well, 25 years to life. Well, if the jury does that, it's 25 years to life, right? If you admit guilt, plea out, we'll give you 10 to 15 years, parole after 7. And that's what the NCAA think they had with Harbaugh. The Harbaugh client said, well, how about not 10 years, not 10 to 15? How about 5 years? How about 2 games? How about 1 game? So he's like, no, 4. No, we're not doing 4. Well, cool. Then we'll take it to trial after this season. I think that's what's going to happen is that Michigan kept trying to get it down. It was going to be a season, it sounded like, for some crazy reason. Then 6 games, then 4 games, which they seem to be agreeing on. Then Michigan kept pushing towards 2 or 1 or even none. And the NCAA is like, no, we're not going to have it. We're going to try and make an example of you for some reason, Jim Harbaugh. Ronald Gibbs, I look for the pass rush to be better, so we do not have to blitz and get a lot of pressure with just a 4-man rush. I think the pass rush is going to be markedly better this season. For all of his great plays last year, Mike Morris is a little bit limited in his ability to get off the ball and get off the quarterback in certain times. So I think this year is going to look a lot more like the 2021 team. You've got an up-and-coming guy in the interior like Mason Graham. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a younger Mozzie Smith 2 seasons ago. 2 guys on the outside, but we got 4 guys on the outside. Hutchinson, Ajabo. How about Derek Moore? Okay. Josiah Stewart, coming over from Coastal Carolina. Jalen Harrell, multiple-year starter. Braden McGregor has been kind of like a ball of lightning in his times at Michigan. He looks like, knowing that's his last season, that he's going to grab this starting job by the horns and roll it out. McGregor probably doesn't have as much burst as Moore or Stewart, but with the push that we're getting from the inside from Chris Jenkins, Mason Graham, Rayshawn Benny, and Kenneth Grant, those outside pass rushers should have one-on-one opportunities all season long. And the Michigan pass rush is going to be a nice improvement from this past season. Remind us more about like the 2021 pass rush that was the best in college football for that season. I asked you guys at the beginning of the video to like today's video. Give me a like here on YouTube because I'm saying if you don't, you're jinxing it. So put out the good vibes. Like the video. It costs you nothing. If you like it, Michigan's going to go undefeated. That's just how it is. If you don't, I'm coming for you. Jack, you know what we should do? We got the end screen credit that we'll show here in a second. We should do these guys didn't like the video, they jinxed it, boo them mercifully video if Michigan loses the game and you don't like a video. So give me a like on the video. Let's make sure that we're putting out all the good vibes for the 2023 Michigan football team. All right, 5 segments down, 2 hours and 17 minutes. The Michigan Football Report has been live. We're going to wrap up today's show, but I want to give some shout-outs to our Super Chat leaderboard. Is that updated with John Blaze's 100? All right, John Blaze with the Hundy, so he's going to be up to $865 here in a second, where Jack, a.k.a. Young Harbaugh, is behind the scenes updating that one with John Blaze's 1 Hundy that he just threw in there. You see it updated right there on the screen. Jack, before we go here, show the people, maybe we just roll at the end. How can we roll the video at the end? So we'll end the video and the show today by rolling the new producer show. These are all the 10 people the 40 people, I should say, that donated $10 or more during the 2022 season into and up to signing day in February of 2023. I want to ask you guys this question as we get ready to head out here in the Michigan Football Report. Name a totally random Michigan football player from the past. I'm going to name, let me think. How about Brandon Miner? How about Carlos Brown? I've said this one, Doug Dutch. Never really did anything in Michigan, but was a big recruit back in the day. Who else could we say a random Michigan football player? How about Carlos Brown? Had like 2 big runs under Rich Rod. I never heard from him again. Name me come on, Jay Floyo. Tyrone Wheatley's not a random football player. That's a legendary football player. Get random. A guy that's just like How the hell do you remember that guy? How about, what was the guy's name in 2003, the wide receiver who caught the pass against Ohio State that got hurt? I'm going to look this one up. Give me a random Michigan football player. I can't remember this guy's name for the life of me. It was like Carl. I think it was Carl something. Michigan game. Ed Shuttlesworth. What year did he play? I don't even heard that name. From Nutmeg. Was he a guy back in the 69 team, Meg? I'm not sure. Tate Forcier, that's a pretty random one. 1-year starter, and then just fell off the face of the earth after that. What was the guy's name? I can't remember. If anyone knows the Michigan football wide receiver 4 in 2003 who had a big time catch over the middle, just get a first down. I can't remember who it was. Boubacar Sissoko. Robin, he's a criminal, John Blaze, but I remember him. 2007, 2006, 8, some time frame recruiting class. Ended up doing a bunch of crime. I can't remember what it was. And then ended up playing the Arena League after that or something like that. Brendan Byer, all right. Craig Rowe, that's a good one. Starting defensive end 12, 13 years ago or so. Oliver Martin. Might still be playing in college football year 7 at this point. He's been with Iowa, Nebraska, Michigan. I'm not sure where he is. Grady. You got Kevin Grady and Kelvin Grady. Chris Perry, not really random as much. He was a national award winner, won the Doak Walker. Kevin Grady, that's a good one from Jay Floyo. Give me a random. I'm going, I said Brandon Miner, right? Starting running back after Mike Hart. Carlos Brown was a big-time recruit out of Georgia. Had 2 plays in his Michigan career. You never heard from him again. Let's see what you got. Carl Tabb, Nutmeg, Carl Tabb. I think that's the one. Yes, I think it was Carl Tabb. I think it was Carl Tabb. 2003, big time. I think it was Carl Tabb. That name rings a bell. Tamunga Biakabatuka, 1995, 313 yards against Ohio State in the Wolverines upset of the number 2 Buckeyes. Ron Atchison. I'm not even sure if I remember that name, who that is. So that is the last part. And reminder, guys, the Don T-shirts. Don't leave home without one. Support the show. All proceeds go to the Preston Fund for college education. The Preston Fund, Jack. It's a great cause, great donation. Make sure you guys get one. Ernest Shazer, All-American 2004, left for the NFL a year early after his redshirt junior year. First-team All-American, not drafted at safety. No one ever heard from him again. Calvin Bell, that's a good one too. Who's also one of those wide receivers in the Lloyd Carr era, the number 4 wide receiver for 3 or 4 years, it seemed like. So that is today's show. Give me a Bosa if you want, Jack. Let's make sure we have a Bosa on there. Type Bosa in the comments if you can. And then how about we go to this one really quick too, Jack? Let's see what people's thoughts are because I wasn't able to look at that one. So give me a Bosa in the comments. BOSA if you want to beat Ohio State again. Tim Massaquoi out of the state of Pennsylvania was a big-time recruit at tight end. That's a good one. A lot of good ones in here, but keep naming them. But give me a Bosa in the comments if you are all about that Bosa life. Beat Ohio State again. Great player, yes. Last question of the show. Please give me your answers. I want to take a pulse of the audience. Who is your favorite Michigan football player right now? The Yoder household, you saw with the Don shirt. I'm not a jersey guy. I do not wear jerseys ever. I own a yellow one in the Maze one I bought for the 2007 Florida game at Jerry World in Dallas. And I rarely wear it, but I bought a Donovan Edwards jersey. Bought one for my son too. Cool. We're Don guys. My son loves Donovan Edwards because of the 2 runs against Ohio State. So who is your favorite player right now? I'll wait till we get 4 or 5 people to answer it. I just want to get a little pulse of the crowd. JJ, need a strong season. That's a pretty good one. I think Blake Corum, for a lot of ways for people, has been lost in the shuffle of best player, legendary player. Because his 2 counterparts in 2021, Hassan Haskins, 5 touchdowns. 2022, Donovan Edwards, the 2 long touchdown yards, 75 yards, 85 yards, 220-plus yards rushing, or whatever, 216. Blake Corum hasn't been really available against Ohio State. 1 run in the second half to set up a touchdown. And as the stalwart of this 3-year run for Michigan that we're kind of wrapping up the 3rd year of it, I think Blake Corum needs to have a big year against Ohio State to kind of be in the all-time lore of Michigan football legends. You got to do it against Ohio State. Mike Layton says Mike Sainristil. I like that Nutmeg as well, too. JJ, and Sainristil. So we got a few in there. Edwards played with a cast and leg injury. It's crazy. That is a crazy thing. All right, that is the show, guys. All the segments from today's show will go out either tonight, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Saturday, Sunday, and we'll put out some original content in between there as well. Some days we're going to have 2 videos on the channel. We'll be live again next week, either Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll put it on Twitter, Facebook, and the YouTube community a couple days in advance so everyone can know what time. So stick with us. Make sure you subscribe. Until I see you guys live next time, go Blue.